Welcome to Two Titans and a Hunter, a Destiny 2 podcast. We are all about tips, tricks and news, and we've got it all for you this week. So, let's just get on with the show. This week, with great reward comes great sacrifice. And on that note, I'm joined as ever by the ever-optimistic Steve Rogers of our trio, Peroty, and the always angry Bruce Banner of the clan, Respawn.
Bruce Banner or his Mr. Hyde impersonation?
Yes, that seems backwards. I'm sure we'll go with it.
No, I've gone with Bruce Banner because he says he's always angry. So.
Oh, I see. Oh, well done.
Fair point.
Yeah. Also, I don't have it backwards. Dr. Jekyll was the scientist. Mr. Hyde was the crazy murderer. So I did not have it backwards.
Why do you always have to put the thing at the end I have to cut out?
Just cut out the entire sentence and it works easier that way.
Okay, fine, silly Billy.
So, this week at Bungie for May 16th, 2019. And we're going to start off with what they said at the end of this week at Bungie. And it says, we're sympathetic about the fact that the changes we are making in the interest of balancing combat and game design can be jarring. It was important that we have this conversation before you read the patch notes. We know many of you have a lot riding on the day one season of Opulence. Hopefully, this intel will assist you in building your perfect monster-killing machines for the next season of play. So they should have led with that on the TWAB, but they didn't. They put that at the end. They kind of just 1-2 punch in the gut.
Yeah, it wasn't cute when they said it. It's not cute when you repeat it either.
No.
Yeah.
So, as always, we have a Respawn Rants, and he's going to kick the show off this week with his rant.
Okay, so I'm just going to read the beginning, right? So, Season of Opulence sandbox changes. Season of Opulence is on fast approach, and similar to past seasons, some sandbox changes will arrive with it. Last week, we set your sights on a new raid that begins on June 4th. The same day that the new season launches, we wanted to let you know what to expect from the new sandbox so you can plan accordingly. The Destiny dev team has the details.
Don't you love the fact that they haven't singled out anybody in the dev team? It's the dev team.
Oh, because you know they would get obliterated by the social media. I mean...
Top men.
You never know. It could have been the guys that have just left.
Yeah, there you go. The guy who left last week, it's all his fault. This is all his work. If you hate it, tell him this next company. It's definitely none of us. It's all his work.
So this is the part. All right, I'm going to try to remain calm. I know it's a Respawn rant, but I am going to get tilted. I'm just trying to hold off on the tilt until the last second, all right? So, Destiny dev team. For Season of Opulence, several notable weapons are being adjusted. You know what? Another YouTuber was saying, "Oh well, I'm not sure if I like the word adjusted." Well, I'm sure that I don't like it because they're not being adjusted. Not in this particular case, anyway. They're being nerfed, with the exception of kind of the Lord of Wolves. I think that that's actually better. What happened to that? But we'll get into that in a minute, right? Being adjusted. No, you've nerfed the. We want to ensure that encounters, raids, and other in-game content, for example, remain a challenge. Some of these weapons have been overwhelming that challenge. Our first choice is to buff underused weapons, but if we continue to push every weapon up higher and higher, it will be impossible to maintain challenging experiences. Regarding that sentence, if we keep buffing other weapons higher and higher. Couple of things to point out in that little sentence right there, right? Bungie promised in D2 there will no longer be nerfs. Everything else will be buffed to bring it up to the level of whatever they want to nerf, right? And in this sentence, they're saying if we continue to push every weapon up higher and higher. I know there's some examples out there, but I can guarantee you there's a lot less examples of them buffing a weapon than them nerfing weapons. Right? And that's what's getting on my nerves. Not only are they breaking promises, but they're trying to save face by saying, if we buff all the weapons higher and higher, it's going to get unreasonable. Well, yeah, first of all, this is a game where you want to experience overwhelming just...
Yeah, I mean, Bungie is good about, they keep talking about we want players to have the power fantasy.
That's what I'm looking for.
We want you to have that 1v3. We want you to have that room-clearing power.
Yeah, the power fantasy, the power creep, all that good stuff. That's what this game is supposed to do. We can fly and freaking teleport. Let us have the power fantasies or whatever, right? there are so many more examples of them nerfing weapons, supers, armors than they are of buffing anything, in my opinion, right? Other people out there might have different opinions. If you do, by all means, let me know, because right now I am really aggravated to look anything up or to remember anything. So I know there's examples out there, but it's obviously not enough to counteract all the nerfs that they've been doing, okay? So, that sentence I just have a problem with, buffing weapons higher and higher. Yeah, okay, because that's what's happening. It will be impossible to maintain challenging experiences. This is not a full list of changes, but some of the most impactful. So, in that regard, does that mean that they haven't listed all of the nerfs, or that they haven't listed whatever buffs they may be giving, right?
See,
So-
this is one thing that I was upset about,
What's that?
is the wording this week in the TWAB.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nitedemon rants.
No, they've put had, has, going to be, some. They're very vague on what they're actually talking about. Later on, they're talking about the Ursa Furiosa, and they're saying that it's had its damage reduced, or it's had its orb generation reduced. It's like, does that mean that they've already done it and it's in the game, or this is what's coming in the game? The wording of had or is going to be are completely different.
I think
And
it depends on
like,
your perspective, because maybe it has been done in the update that we just haven't received yet.
Yes, but that's what I'm saying. The wording in the TWABs seem to be, more and more confusing each week.
Right.
Stick to the details. If this is a list of the top nerfs or the top changes of weapons that are going to affect the sandbox, then write that. Don't put this is just not a full list, but some of the most impactful, because that doesn't mean anything, because they've not put any weapons in here that have gone, oh, you remember that gun that you don't use? Well, we're bringing that up. They haven't put those in there, which makes you think that maybe next week it'll be, oh, these are all the weapons and armor pieces that we've buffed. Is it going to be, bait and switch?
You know how you can tell when you're really, really upset about something? Like, every time you say the word nerf, like, I feel my heartbeat spike. I'm serious. Every time you say nerf, this was nerfed, or they're talking about nerfs, I can feel my heartbeat spiking. I can feel my skin heating up. I'm trying to maintain a calm, because the closer we get to the armor nerfs, the more angry I'm going to get. So I'm trying not to get too bad too fast. But every time you say the word nerf, ooh, it's just, it's very unpleasant. Oh, gosh. But yeah, anyway, I'm sorry. Keep going. It's just, whatever. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So the first weapon on the chopping block is the Whisper of the Worm. Whisper of the Worm was already adjusted in Season of the Drifter.
Hold on. Wait. I'm sorry. I want to interrupt you. For anybody that has not played D1, let me explain something to you. In D1, we had something called the Black Spindle, right? And Black Hammer was the perk, wasn't it? Okay, so we had the Black Spindle sniper rifle, which is...
No. If you go back further. So in Destiny 1, you had the Crota raid, the Dark Below.
Right.
And not even the boss encounter. There was a sniper rifle that would drop from the Witch just before. So you had to do the raid to get the sniper rifle. But it was a legendary, and it was called the Black Hammer.
That's right.
Now, Black Hammer dropped with White Nail perk, which is exactly what we've got now in the Whisper of the Worm. So it's an exact copy, basically. You had Mulligan on there, and you had the White Nail.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as Destiny 1 moved forward, people would only have the 3 weapons. They would have Fatebringer, they would have the Black Hammer, and they would have Gallahorn, and it would be the loadout. So then Destiny decided, or Bungie decided, to hold back the power to 170, and those weapons stayed in the past, and new ones came in at higher light, and you couldn't, infuse those weapons to get up any higher. So then what Bungie then did is they created a secret mission, very similar to the Whisper of the Worm quest or the 0 hour mission that we've recently got, where suddenly on a strike, there was a door that had just been opened if you did a significant amount of stuff. I think it was if you didn't die on a certain path back through a mission, this other door would open up and you'd go through it and it would give you a 20-minute timer. And at the end of it, dropped the black spindle, which was the exotic version of the black hammer. But what they'd done on that version was they'd taken the white nail perk and reworked it into what it's now going to become in Whisper of the Worm post-patch, where white nail would only draw from your reserves, and you'd have, just I think it was 18 in the mag or something like that. But that's how they reworked it, because white nail had started to become a problem in Destiny 1.
Yep.
And they could foresee then that unlimited bullets on raid encounters and boss encounters.
That's only if you nailed every shot on the critical hit spot, right?
Exactly.
And I know people are like, well, that's not hard to do. But when you're hitting some of these bosses, they're shaking around a bit. You're going to miss a shot, right? So it's not always active, right? I mean, you could be a pro and you could be hitting all those crit shots as the boss is moving, but it's unlikely, okay? The point that I was making is in D1, they had the perfect sniper rifle, and then they nerfed it. By instead of making the bullets come out of nowhere, they came out of your reserves. Everybody hated it. You'll get some people that argue and say, well, people still used it after the fact because it was still a good choice. But
it was for Destiny 1 because you didn't have alternatives. You didn't have a rally barricade. You didn't have a lunar faction rift.
Right.
You just had that weapon and the way it was built. So when they changed it, although there was some uproar, it was changed and there was nothing that could compare to it with the white nail perk change.
Yeah. But like you said, there was the uproar. People hated it, especially right when it happened. People were so angry. And what really gets me is here's Destiny 2, right? No, so not everybody was around for year one at player base, right? But you know who was in year one? Bungie.
Mm-hmm.
And they remember what happened the first time they nerfed this weapon, right? And how people hated it. So here we are in year 2, right? Did they have amnesia? Did they just forget that everybody hated when that happened? Or did they just not care about their player base, right? They're trying to make excuses about, oh, we have to revamp bosses to handle all the extra damage. Why?
What I don't get is Bungie knew from whole playtest of Destiny 1 what Black Hammer, Black Spindle could do and would possibly do with the white nail perk that pulled from nowhere.
They put it in the game in D2 exactly as it started in D1.
In the game
only
D2.
To nerf it later, just like they did in D1. What the hell for, man?
It makes no sense, does it? It absolutely makes no sense, because if you're going to put that weapon back in D2 in its original state with white nail, they must have known that this was going to happen.
They had to have. I don't know why they did it, because everybody, if you remember when we found out about this quest, everyone was like, oh God, please let it be pre-nerf, pre-nerf, pre-nerf. And it was! And everybody loves it. And now it's getting nerfed again. Yay!
I think that's what Bungie are missing with this, is the fact that it's not a new weapon come in that they are nerfing. It's an existing weapon that's come back in a superior form or its original form, and they gave the community what the community wanted, but now they're taking it away again. And I think that's the 1-2 punch. That's the gut punch for everybody. They've given it back, and now they're taking it away again.
What really gets me though is people are saying that it's overpowered, right? I don't think it's overpowered, because I rarely ever use the sleeper. You know what I mean? It is very good in certain encounters, I will agree. But my loadout consists more of the Outbreak Perfected or the Arbalesque. And if I'm not using one of those, right, then I'm using the Jotun. If I'm not using the Jotun, I'm using the fusion rifle.
Telesto the Besto?
Thank you, Telesto, Mr. Peroty, who's being awfully, awfully quiet. But yes, Telesto. So even back then, I was barely using the Whisper because there were so many other exotics I liked more. And the fact that they're saying that's all people ever use, no, because I see people use all kinds of exotics all the time. I rarely see people use that gun except in very niche circumstances. And I think that's okay, right? It's an exotic, just like the submachine gun, where if you get hit by electricity, right, you take half damage from electricity, and then your gun reloads pretty indefinitely.
Yeah,
that's very niche as well. I didn't see them doing anything with that perk. Oh yeah, by the way, now your weapon's not going to reload anymore. Oh god, please don't do that, Bungie. I will lose my. Do not do that. Whatever. The point is, they're not doing that to other niche weapons. They're just doing it to the Whisper, and that's what's aggravating, because they didn't learn the lesson the first time.
So what they say with Whisper of the Worm is, while exotics are intended to be powerful and novel, bypassing the ammo economy can tend to force us to adjust enemies to compensate. This effectively results in sniper rifles as a whole being punished because of the Whisper's unique ammo ability, and as a result, they've decided that they're going to remove the ammo generation ability so that they can increase the effectiveness of all other snipers that don't have endless ammo supplies. So what they're doing is they're going to change the white nail perk to it pulls ammo from reserves rather than creating it. So we're going back to the black spindle version, and the reserve ammunition is increased to 18 without ammo perks, and I believe it's 21 with 2 ammo perks on helmet and class item.
So irritating. What are they going to do? Attack the Risk Runner and Huckleberry next? I know they pull from reserves, but still, they're not bypassing the ammo economy or anything like that. But they still have very niche perks that are good in very specific situations, just like the Whisper of the Worm. People don't use the Whisper of the Worm all the time. They use it specifically for certain bosses. Even when we had the Whisper of the Worm and we were going against Callus, we would still use rockets over Whisper. You know what I mean? So it's not like it's overpowered and everywhere that they had to nerf it. No. The niche spots that it's in, and the fact that it's nerfed from those niche spots, really aggravates me, obviously. But like I said before, what really gets me is they didn't learn their lesson the first damn time. If you were ultimately going to nerf it, you should have just brought it in the game like that. Instead of giving everybody hope, making everybody love the gun, and then taking away the best part of the gun.
But the big question is, why bring it back?
It's a great gun, right?
No. But they saw the potential of what it could do devastatingly with the unlimited ammo in Destiny 1. Why bring it back in Destiny 2?
That I don't know. Maybe to bring in a more player base.
That's the big question, because you want to know.
It had to have been a player-based thing, right? Because all the D1 players that are playing D2, they're like, oh my god, the Black Spindle's coming back. Or, yeah, the Black Spindle's coming back. I know you never played D1, but this is a great gun. You need to get on D2, and it's going to be probably something like that. They wanted to get players back into the game, so they brought the original Black Spindle back.
It's a bait and switch. It really is.
Because Bungie never learns. Let's go back, way back in time, kids, to March of last year, 2018, in the year of our Bungie. The 1.1.4 update, the Go Fast update, where they said, we went back to the board and looked at everything and said, here are a couple of weapons we feel are in a really good spot. And by really good spot, they're kind of hot. They're probably too hot for D2. In D1, people would have probably correctly said, that means we need to nerf those things. They're nails that are sticking out of the board. And we would have hammered them to be even with the board. For this update, we did the opposite. We said, these things are kind of hot. Let's bring everything else up to them. So we started raising each thing up, raise them up, whether it be PvE or PvP. That was from the Go Fast update, Bungie developer speaking last year, March 2018. Ever since then, we've gone in the opposite direction. It's like, it's almost like listening to Bungie, what they want to do with their game is like playing one of their Halo games. We're going to run over here. We're going to do a thing. Now we're going to run back where we started and do a thing, and then run back to that first place we ran to and do a thing, and then run back and leave the level.
But see, the problem is they're not doing the initial thing. That's the problem. Well, they're not doing the initial thing.
They brought you the gun back. They said, here's the gun back. Now, we hope we're going to do the same thing we did in the last game that we ended up having to fix, but maybe it won't happen that way this time. Maybe those people have left. Maybe it's a short memory. Maybe it's something that they said, hey, we can put this in the game with fairly limited resources. Maybe it was something they were planning all along. I don't know. Hey,
maybe there's something just as simple as a bait and switch, like what we're talking about.
It could be
maybe
that.
This was intentional.
They wanted something in the tower good enough to make this happen. Maybe they have something amazing waiting for us in the Season of Opulence. I don't know. I mean,
I thought about that.
Given the new exotic weapons and armor and stuff, I mean, I think the weapons have panned out pretty well. The exotic weapons in this last update, the exotic armor.
I thought about that as well, right? Because I was trying to think of why would they do this? And then the only thing that I could think of that would even remotely make enough sense is one of those redacteds would be the icebreaker. That would be the only reason to nerf the Whisper in order to get people to use another sniper. And that would be the icebreaker.
Yeah, bringing that back in, anything like its current, anything like its D1 form, and the icebreaker, for those who don't know, that's the gun. It would refill your ammo after a amount of time, and it also got some nerfs because you could do things like in the Vault Glass raid, send one person down, activate the oracles, everyone else stay up top where it was safe with their icebreakers, and just lay into them because you wouldn't need extra ammo.
But the only nerf they came to the icebreaker is how long it took you to get your ammo back. It went from 1 round every 3 seconds to 1 round every 5 or 8.
Yeah, something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
They just.
Right. I mean, they basically said in this update, why they're nerfing this. They don't want ammo to come out of the air and break the ammo economy. I don't see them breaking Icebreaker back for the exact same reason, unless they're going to break it back. Bring it back and go, hey, we have another gun where it pulls ammo out of the thin air. Now we're going to have to nerf that again, just like we did with the Whisper.
But will they though? Because the Whisper, you can put a lot more DPS on a boss. Because you can just boom, 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 right? But the Icebreaker, you get 6 shots, and then you have to wait for the ammo to refill. So you can't put as many rounds down range as you can with the Icebreaker, even if it's 1 round every 3 seconds. That means you'll get, 7 or 8 rounds before you have to start reloading? It's not infinite. Yes, you are pulling out of the ether, but it's not infinite. In other words, it's not just going to keep going. You are going to have to take a break for your rounds to refill themselves. It just means you don't have to go hunting for ammo. You see that's what I'm talking about with the Icebreaker. I don't think it's game breaking like the Whisper quote unquote is, right? But I do think that's the only reason that I can foresee that they would nerf the Whisper so bad, unless there's a new weapon coming that we just haven't seen that happens to be a sniper. That's also a possibility. But
sorry.
No,
I was going to say you go.
I was going to say if they're going to nerf the Whisper, the only thing that I would accept in its place is an Icebreaker. That's just me. Other people might have different opinions.
You say that, but they're removing the exotic perk from the weapon. That's what they're actually, that's what they're ultimately doing. In the end, they're removing the exotic perk and they are leaving it with the catalyst. So it's basically changing it into a legendary weapon. That's all they're doing, because nobody is going to want to use that weapon over another exotic.
No, it's still an exotic because the Huckleberry and the Risk Runner do the same thing. They refill ammo.
No. But the White Nail perk is what made it exotic. The catalyst, which gives you whisper breathing, is basically box breathing, which you can get on other sniper rifles, other high impact sniper rifles.
Agreed, but it's still the White Nail perk is still an exotic perk because only exotic weapons, as far as I know, unless somebody knows something different, those 3 guns, the Whisper, Huckleberry, and Risk Runner, are the only ones that will refill your magazine completely from reserves without having to reload manually. So it's still technically an exotic perk. It's just one.
But what's the difference from standing behind a Titan rally barricade or in a Lunar Faction Rift?
There is no difference in that regard.
Right? And you don't need anything exotic to put down a rally barricade, and you don't need anything to put down a Rift.
And with a Rift,
I mean, Lunar Faction boots, but yeah.
At least a Rift, at least on my Warlock, I can get a Rift, and as soon as my Rift ends, 1 or 2 seconds later, I'll have another Rift. And I don't have anything on my armor that boosts the speed in which I recharge class abilities. So that's just, as far as I can tell, standard Warlock recharge. So if you keep that in mind, Lunar Faction boots with the Rift is going to be near constant reloading anyway for you. Yeah.
And what I found interesting is I listened to the Last Word podcast by Bontis, and his view on it was he said that you have all these highly skilled players, and he names Glad and Gigs who do these
And Respawn.
who do use the exotics to do these activities at an extreme level, but they are also ultra highly skilled. So they're like in the top 10% of players. And if you build a sandbox around them, the other 90% of players who already don't find the game a cakewalk like us
Yep.
are going to be struggling even more when you take away these tools.
Mm-hmm.
It gives them a breath of hope to have these weapons around, because like you said at the beginning, I don't hit every headshot. You don't hit every headshot. There are some points that we have to reload, or something flies in the way, like a shank.
A Titan
Or your clanmate. I was just going to say, yeah. Or your
a Titan
clanmate.
puts a bubble in front of you, or Titan walks in front of you while you're firing a rocket, or, things happen.
From his point of view, it looks like they are slowly trying to cater too hard to the hardcore, because not everybody's going into a raid and being able to do the fantastic things you see these YouTube videos doing. And
especially nowadays,
that's one of the main points.
Especially nowadays, they're making this nerf for no reason. Because I did a few raids this week, and I even tried to get you guys in, but you gave me a bunch of excuses. But whatever, I did a few raids this week, and all we used for the whole raid was the perfected. That's it. We one-phased raid bosses with the perfected. We don't even need the whisper, right? So why are they nerfing it at this point? It's an unnecessary nerf. It's an unneeded nerf. You're just taking away a good gun for what? Exactly.
I think overall... Sorry, Peroty.
I would say, honestly, probably because that gun, just like their numbers with competitive Crucible play, they're probably saying, hey, X number of percentage of people are using this gun in every single encounter. We want to shake things up, just like we did with PvP, nerfing those guns that everyone's using. We're going to shake this up. And like you said, you don't need to go in with that gun if you have others. Now, again, I feel sorry for the folks who are playing more casually, who don't have the Whisper, who don't have the Perfected, who don't have some of these exotics where you have to go in with a team. We're lucky enough to have a good clan going in with and say, hey, can someone help me out with this? Because there's some other folks. When I played Destiny 1 and I was sort of on my own in the evenings with no one else around, trying to find an LFG group sometimes easy, sometimes it's not. And we're just trying to get things done when you got, maybe you've got an hour to do it. It took me forever at the Whisper because I could have, back there was a time thing where you had to wait for the public event to spawn and then the right public event and then have it be the right thing. I could wait 2-3 hours and have one run at it, which inevitably I'd fail because I didn't remember the jumping puzzle from, month to month or week to week as it went by. So, it's good to have some of these powerful weapons, but I almost wish Bungie would post, at least some vague numbers on just like percentage of the player base that have certain guns. Because, you sort of see, everybody has a Whisper. Everybody has, the Outbreak. Everybody has this gun. But is it 10%? Is it 50%? Is it 90%? Just to get, and not a full player base, but just say, like people who are still playing the game, people who have played in the last 30 days, how many of you have? Because obviously people who've picked up the game and played it once, their numbers are going to skew things. But, how many active players have these guns? I'd just be curious to know, is this a common thing, or is it like, we're one of 20 has this weapon?
Yeah, but you raised a good point. I think inadvertently, I don't think you realize the impact of what you just said, right? About how difficult it was for you to get the Whisper, right? It was a hard thing to do, especially if you had to wait as long as you did. So it's just like the Lunar Faction and the Not Forgotten and all these other weapons that people have to work for to get. They're nerfing them. That is ridiculous. I feel cheated if I'm being honest, right? I had to go through all this trouble to get the Whisper of the Worm and the Catalyst and all that other nonsense, and now they're just going to take it away from me? What? It's like me going to work, working hard for my paycheck, and then coming home and some random guy on the street just goes, hey, I want your money. What? I want your money. You didn't earn it. I don't care. I want your money. No! And they take it anyway, And that's how I feel. I feel cheated. I feel robbed. That they're nerfing the weapons that people have worked hard to acquire, and they're taking them away, basically.
Yeah. This is one I can't get that worked up about because I just checked my Whisper. The Worm is saying a cool 535 and does not have the Catalyst on it. So while I got it, and I've used it a couple times, It's not something I use very often. So again, it's sort of one of those. I got it as a trophy item. I got it so the game would stop telling me here's something you have to go get. But honestly, I have not used it. It sits there in my inventory.
But just because you haven't used it doesn't cheat the fact that you work to get it. That didn't make any sense. Just because you don't use it doesn't take away from the fact of how hard you had to work to get it. How long it took you to acquire this weapon. So if they're doing this to the Whisper and the Luna and the Not Forgotten, how long is it going to be until they do it to the Perfected or Recluse or Fill in the Blank or the Mountaintop? You know what I mean? How long is it going to take for them to nerf all the other weapons that we love so much? This is what's they keep saying we were never going to nerf anything in D2, and that's all they're doing. Any weapons that we enjoy, they're taking away from us, especially the ones you have to work hard for.
I mean, to be fair, they said it once with the Go Fast update, and then never again mentioned it.
But it doesn't matter. They still said it.
See, their ability to raise the weapons is actually sitting in Crucible Labs right now. So once we find that, we'll find the ability to raise the weapons up too.
Right.
You have to go into that mission of Crucible Labs and push the button, and then it reverses all the decisions.
I wouldn't feel so bad, right? I mean, I would still be tilted, but I wouldn't feel so bad if they nerf something like, for example, the Lord of Wolves. That is a drop. That is a drop. You don't have to work hard for that. You just have to be lucky, right? Or unlucky in your case. Point is you don't have to work for it. One day it'll just drop if you're going to get it. So something like that, if they nerf that, okay, it sucks. I had to wait X amount of time to get the drop, but it is what it is. But when you actively work towards something, Whisper of the Worm, Perfected, Luna's Howl, Recluse, Mountaintop, etc., and those get nerfed, those get cheated from you, that's what is really... I really hope I'm not the only one that feels like this. I feel genuinely robbed that they're nerfing the weapons we had to work so hard for, honestly speaking. This is ridiculous.
Just to throw some numbers and some things at you guys. So the previous nerf was they removed the reserve ammo from 18, and that was 21 with double reserves. And they cut that in half down to 9, and with double ammo reserves gave you 12. So that's what we're currently at. And they're going to return it back to 18 and 21 with double reserves. As a comparison, Darcy, which is an exotic weapon, exotic sniper rifle, can have up to 28 bullets with reserves. That's crazy. Yes, it does half the damage that the Whisper does, but if you've got a Lunafaction or if you've got a Rally Barricade, you think you've got 28 bullets compared to the 12, you're going to be putting more damage into something than what the Whisper's going to do. And yes, it's going to bring...
And it also flinches like a son of a gun, too.
It's going to bring that more in line with what they were trying to do with bringing other sniper rifles into the game.
But that was never a question. I had this conversation with somebody the other day about how good that weapon is, because people were like, oh, people are still going to use it. We're like, no, they're not going to use it. They're going to go use the Darcy. Because nowadays, people actually use the Darcy over the Whisper in some cases. So, oh no, they're still going to use the Whisper of the Worm. I don't think they will. Once this nerf goes through, at this point in time, unless you're really, really good and you can nail all of those headshots, there's no point to use this over the Darcy.
No. Because I believe Darcy has 5 in the mag.
Yes.
So it already has the extra 2 bullets.
Yep.
So although it's going to be lower like precision
and it's not half. That's the thing. It's not half damage. It is lower damage, yes, but it's not half damage. You're pumping out a lot more damage with the Darcy than you are with the Whisper, unless you're getting those infinite shots.
No. Whisper's the higher damage.
I know that
Darcy.
I know. I'm not saying it's not. I'm saying unless you're getting those infinite shots consistently, you're gonna get more damage with the Darcy because it's got more rounds overall. That's what I'm saying. And even if they buff it up to 18 rounds, you still got more rounds in the Darcy. Mathematically speaking, if I remember correctly, 18 rounds in the Whisper versus 24, 26, something in the Darcy.
28.
28.
With the reserve perks.
I still think the math said that the Darcy would do more damage overall. The only way the Whisper would outdamage the Darcy in the case of just strictly ammo capacity is if you got a consistent infinite infinite. No, actually, no, not even no, because oh my god, I went off on this whole tangent. I completely forgot that it's not going to come out of the ether anymore. So if you landed all your shots with the Whisper and all your shots with the Darcy, flat out, the Darcy's going to do more damage now. I think there's going to be some guy out there that does the math. So yeah, the Darcy is just straight up going to be better than the Whisper at this.
And throwing it out there with other sniper rifles that are exotic, you've got the Borealis. And Borealis, although the impact is 10 less than the Whisper, less range, has the same reload speed, has higher aim assist, has 5 in the magazine, and this is for a weapon of the same kind of archetype of high impact, sniper rifle. And I mean, you can change the elements on it as well to break shields. So it's going to give people what they want or it's going to give Bungie what they want with the people are going to use something else.
Yeah, but not necessarily a sniper. That's just it. Because you can do probably as much damage overall with the Perfected if somebody has it. Or even
the Tatara Gaze.
The Arbalest puts out a hefty amount of damage too. Tatara Gaze is pretty good.
Tatara Gaze, again, is another high impact archetype of sniper. 10 less impact than the Whisper, but that you can roll with box breathing. So yeah, it's
anyway. So this horse has been beaten to death. I'm irritated with this. So let's move on to the sleeper.
Before we move on to sleeper, I had an idea.
What?
An epiphany came to me.
Oh, an epiphany. Okay.
An epiphany. I had an epiphany.
Okay.
Right. You're Bungie, and you want to change the weapon. You want to change Whisper of the Worm.
Okay.
You want to remove White Nail, but you don't really know what to do apart from just remove it.
Okay.
One thing I thought of, right? White Nail could have been changed to magic bullets. So sometimes it could magic bullets into the gun or use reserves. But it was guaranteed to proc at least once on a full empty of ammo and reserve. So you've still got that exoticness of the weapon that it could possibly... You're a bit like Hawkmoon, Destiny 1, where you could get those magic bullets to do the extra damage
3 times.
And sometimes you could be extra lucky and get that double extra damage bullet, one-shot kill kind of thing to a body. So why not put these magic bullets into the White Nail perk and just change it slightly that you're not always guaranteed to be pulling it from thin air. It will pull from reserves, but you do have still a high chance to get these magic bullets put into your magazine by sheer chance. That way, you're still kind of keeping it exotic because it is that chance of still getting more bullets than what you've actually got.
I think you're putting too much thought into this. I mean, I see what you're trying to do, and I get it.
But would that not have been
no, I don't think it
a bit of a compromise?
I don't think it would have been, because that to me sounds it just sounds like a bad idea. I mean, like I said, I know what you're trying to get at, but that kind of a rework would change how the weapon functions entirely anyway, to begin with. So that's not.
But they're doing that now.
No, they're just taking away something. They're not reworking the whole thing.
But that's what they need to do. They are reworking the whole thing.
No, they're just taking away the infinite ammo. That's all they're doing.
But that's what I'm saying, is if you give the gun a chance to have a few infinite ammo bullets, that's still making it exotic.
That's
nothing about that weapon is exotic after the White Nail.
It's basically mulligan, but you don't have to miss, is what it sounds like. You know, so you get one more round in your magazine, maybe.
No, you get
one bonus. You get one bonus mag each time, basically. It would pull one mag out of the air.
Guaranteed to pull one mag. You could pull 2, 3, depending on, the situation. I'm saying that if they'd reworked it to be magic bullets, it may have been a slight compromise.
So what? Like you have a 50-50 chance of on that third shot, it will either pull it from your reserves or the ether? Is that what you're trying to say? It still bypasses the ammo economy, which is what they're trying to get rid of.
But it's still keeping it exotic, but you can either go with this one to maybe get a chance of extra bullets.
Is it actually a compromise?
It
is technically a compromise, yes. Both people get kind of something that they want. But in the end, you still have changed the weapon from what it was. And that's really my big about this whole thing. They're changing it after they already knew what it was going to do from D1. They brought it to us the way we wanted it and changed it. That's the big. Not how they changed it or what they're changing it to or how good, bad, or whatever they're nerfing it. They're changing it in the exact same fundamental way that they did in D1.
Yep.
It shouldn't be changed at all. I don't want to compromise. I don't want to go back and forth with Bungie. I want to say, you made this gun twice, not once, twice, and still decided to make the same mistake a second time around. That's what really tilts me about this whole thing. That's why I'm at Bungie and about this Whisper. Because if they were going to give it to us in the state that they're changing it to, they should have done it from the beginning. This was like Peroty said, this was a bait and switch. 100%. I'm convinced. Because why else would they do that? They were there in year one.
I'm not sure Peroty said that.
No, I said that, but it's fine.
Oh, whatever. You both sound the same to me. Anyway.
We do have very similar voices. That's true.
Obviously, your accents are spot on. No, but you derailed me, you son of a biscuit.
Sleeper Simulant.
Yeah.
The reduction of the bounce shot damage for Sleeper Simulant is already present on several important enemies. We are now making this reduction part of the weapon. The difference in damage is too large between a single precision shot of Sleeper Simulant and an angle shot that pierces the target and then also hits the target again when it bounces off projectiles. Much like the Whisper, we had to adjust enemies around that potential.
Which doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense because you know the two enemies. No, don't get exasperated. The only two enemies that works on is, honestly, I can't remember the first, but the second one is the raid boss, the floating mind machine that's got the shields around him. Basically, That is the only guy that this works on, and even then, it's only sometimes. Even then, it's a crapshoot.
If you put a bubble around anything and fire a sleeper shot into it, it'll give you all sorts of ricochets. We can fix this problem. We can make this happen on anything.
Right.
If you can get a bubble near him, you can make this work.
I'm not talking about suicide.
Making these changes a permanent part of the weapon, we can get into a more balanced position. So they are reducing the ricochet bounce damage on boss combatants. Their modified precision behavior. Total damage is unchanged, but non-precision shots are significantly more forgiving. Go ahead with your rant.
No, what does that mean? You're buffing the non-crit shots? Non-critical shots are more forgiving. What does that mean, more forgiving? Point is the only quote-unquote bosses that we've had to change in order to compensate for this is one boss, which hardly anybody ever even does that raid anymore. So, red card, Bungie, you're done. That's just stupid.
No.
But there might be bosses coming up. This will also work on as well.
I think that's their intention with this.
Listen, don't come at me with logic and reasoning. Okay, this is not the time for that nonsense. All right.
Were I someone who was more organized and had more time and were more dedicated, I would put together a list of here are the changes Bungie made before the new content dropped. Here's the way those changes would have played out, and what they were probably trying to avoid before the content dropped. I don't remember. I can't remember what it was, but before the season director, I was thinking, okay, you're making a change to this particular weapon. There will probably be some activity or some game type in this that would really benefit from having this particular weapon do this thing. And so I'm sure it's, hey, they're looking at their content head going, this could really break some of our content and make it either really easy or whatever, waste all the hard work we've done to it. Well, let's make some changes.
That makes sense
with that in mind for the
we
future.
Don't know. That makes things. You're making an assumption. It's a good assumption, but you're still making an assumption. From right now, what we see in our bubble, as it were, is they're nerfing something again for bosses that people only use it on one boss for the ricochet portion of it. I mean.
But this is coming out with Season of the Opulence with the new content.
Forget that. We're not talking about what could be. We're talking about how the weapon would play out.
This is coming out with the new content.
You're not listening. We don't know. You're making assumptions.
Bungie know. That's what they're saying.
You're not listening to what I'm saying, right? We as players don't know what the hell Bungie's thinking. Is it logical that they're making these changes for a potential boss that's coming up? Yeah, it's logical. But what if they don't? What if they just nerf the weapon and there's no boss which would benefit from this ricochet?
Maybe that's what I'm saying. Game type that does.
Maybe, whatever. I'm talking about the way the weapon's going to behave in the existing world we have, assuming no changes have been made.
But we're not going to live in that world because these changes are coming with the Season of the Opulence, with the new content. We're not going to have these changes in the world as it is now. We're going to have these changes in the world that will be. Yes, you can go back and play the content of the world it is now, but we're getting these changes with the world that will be coming up with the next season.
I'm confident. I'm confident
honestly,
that this change is not going to affect anything that's upcoming. I'm saying
honestly,
that now, and I stand by it.
Yeah, and I'm curious, looking at this list, is this sort of the biggest? Are these the biggest changes they're putting out here to say, hey, let's let all the angry people in the forum scream about this for a week, so by the time the season comes out, they will be somewhat screamed out. I doubt this is all the changes these weapons are going to see because they always do more tweaking. The 2 or 3 things. I don't think this is going to be all of it. Maybe it'll be good. Maybe it'll be bad. Maybe they're using this as a gauge to see. Let's put this out here, see how people react, see what people come up with in the meantime.
That's stupid if they're using it as a gauge because you can just ask people. They have ways of reaching out to us to ask us these kinds of questions. How do you feel about?
Did you get your Bungie survey? I got my Bungie survey and sent it back to them.
Did they ask you specifically about the Whisper? No, don't
ask me about the game.
Did they ask you about what do you think would happen if they changed the Whisper in XYZ form?
They don't want to listen to people screaming at them either, so they're not going to listen to the forums exactly.
No, that whole
changes
thing,
out and watch what happens. They're going to.
Your argument is irrelevant. You're trying to make sense, but it doesn't make sense.
Numbers of seeing where the shift happens.
Sense because if they were trying to gauge stuff, they would ask before doing something this stupid. They have all these social medias. They can ask all these questions. They don't have to make a change to the game, people off in a change that they have actively made, and then try to go back and retrofit it. Ask people beforehand.
They haven't made the change, though.
Oh my god!
You're acting like
the change is
done.
made. The change is made. If it's coming out, listen.
Let me turn on Destiny right now and experience this change.
Okay, smartass. Do you do programming? Do you think that they do the programming the day that it gets launched?
No, but if
exactly, the changes have been made. They just haven't been applied yet.
Right, but if you make the changes and no one has those changes outside of Bungie, those haven't been made for the community. Is my point.
But they have been made. They just haven't been pushed.
Okay, fine. We're in a semantic war. They haven't been pushed yet. I don't have the content. The Sleeper still acts the same way it did. The Whisper still acts the same way it did. The Whisper and the Sleeper and Order Wolves are not changing for me as a player until it gets pushed to the game. Yes, the changes have made. Yes, they've done what they're going to do.
That's not the point that you're making. The point that you were making is that we're using it as a metric, as gauging the changes.
Right, but I'm also saying these changes don't come to me until the new content comes as well. They come as a package deal. Yes, the changes have been made, but just like the new content has been made, I do not have the new content. When I have new content, I'll have the changes, and I don't think these are all the changes we're going to see to these weapons.
So, Lord of Wolves has been nerfed.
No, you're going slightly. I want to go back to Sleeper Simulator. I know you hate it, and I keep going back.
Well, it's because we're wasting a lot of time when a point has already been made. But go ahead.
You two argued for the last couple of minutes, and I was just waiting for silence.
Sorry. This is what it's. This is what it sounds like when you guys argue, and I just sit here in the background.
Yeah. I mean, I disagree with you, Respawn. They know what's coming, and not necessarily from Season of Opulence, but going forward into the future. So these changes may be something that's coming after Opulence. And again, we don't know what's coming. Bungie are the only people that know what they're doing to their game.
Do they?
And they're adjusting it accordingly.
Do they really
know they now know what's coming, I'm going to say. But like you've just pointed out, Sleeper Simulant and Whisper of the Worm were both in the game for a very long time. They've been there since Warmind. I can't remember when Whisper dropped, but those items have been in the game. Now, I know that this new raid and update has been developed by another studio, but those other studios are fans of what Bungie have done. They know what Bungie have done, and it's not like they were in a separate room locked away from Bungie and they developed this stuff and they've gone, we've created this amazing thing over here, and Bungie have created Sleeper, Whisper, Lord of Wolves, and all these other fantastic weapons, and this other team in the other room don't know anything about these other weapons. There must have been conversations between them. The other team must have known what Sleeper can do with ricochets, what Whisper can do with unlimited ammo. But they're making out that these teams didn't know what was going on between them. They're making themselves look stupid. You know, these weapons have been put back in the game from Destiny 1. I'd like to point out Sleeper, Destiny 1, Lord of Wolves, Destiny 1, Whisper, Destiny 1. Even Ace of Spades, Destiny 1. Now, Sleeper had the ricochet rounds in Destiny 1. Whisper had the unlimited bullets in Destiny 1.
Yeah, but in Destiny 1, the ricochet was so much better, though, wasn't it? I mean, I know I'm going on a tangent, but that thing would ricochet like indefinitely.
Yeah. And they pulled it back for Destiny 2.
Yeah.
But they must have known what it could possibly do. This is what I don't get. Unless, right, this new raid, you've got Callus in a room full of mirrors. That's probably what it is. Imagine that thing bouncing around the room and just hitting him in the face constantly. But come on. You've created this fantastic game with these fantastic weapons, and you've brought them back into the game knowing what they could possibly do, and you've let this other team develop something, and now you're going to have to pull all those weapons back. It does not make any sense whatsoever. You know, they had the force. Is it foresight?
Yes.
To see what happened in Destiny 1. But that's what's frustrating. And then the fact that you have to go through all these missions to go and get these fantastic weapons. I mean, Sleeper Simulant wasn't a walk in the park, was it? Was it collect all 40 blooming nodes to get that gun?
Yeah.
I put that off for weeks for that exact reason.
It was backwards and forwards to go and get them different nodes, and you had to work out if you're standing in a different place, you could go and get a different node somewhere else.
Yep.
Bungie loves to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
But it wasn't like Respawn said. It wasn't like it was a well drop. Even Lord of Wolves, you had to do spider bounties for. It's something you had to really work for, and a lot of people still haven't got Lord of Wolves. They've had to wait until Xur comes, and hopefully, cross fingers, you've got all the other exotics and get it from a fated engram. These are guns that you have to work for.
Right. And I think, honestly, you've hit on a bigger concern I've had for a while, and I think we all share is, the new things, the new exciting things coming to the game are the things we had in the last game. Where's the new stuff? Where's the new weapon to get me excited? Where's the new sniper rifle that's going to do something interesting? Where's the new rocket launcher, or the new fusion rifle, or the new all rifle, or whatever? I mean, yeah, there's new stuff released, but where's the new thing that everyone's going to salivate over and go, oh my God, this is the thing you have to have. This is the thing you have to have. All the stuff that's come back is stuff they've already had in the past.
Now that you've said that,
where's the stuff that I want from this game?
There's a second thing that I wouldn't mind seeing now that you've mentioned other year one weapons, right? If they're going to whisper the worm into oblivion, if they're going to nerf the whisper of the worm into oblivion, the Gallahorn would be a nice supplement, don't you think?
They've teased the Gallahorn, but why bring back? I mean, what's the point at this point?
Why bring back the Whisper? Why bring back the Sleeper? Why bring back the Lord of Wolves? Why bring back?
And that's what I wonder. That's the bigger question. Of course, we don't have answers to because we're not Bungie. Why these weapons? Why bring them back? I mean, was it for Whisper? You had a secret quest before for the Whisper. Let's have a secret quest again for the Whisper. I don't know why, and I think the bigger question is why bring these weapons back? Why these weapons? Was it easier to code? Were the people around who coded them the first time still here? Why these and not others?
Not reading into the lore or anything, but it made sense that Sleeper Simulant maybe was on Mars and collecting nodes, you got a different version of it. Made sense. But that Whisper mission suddenly just popping up.
The Ace of Spades makes sense too, though. The Ace of Spades makes sense because Cade gets killed. Spoilers, FYI. Cade gets killed. Right, so you get the Ace of Spades as a way of remembering Cade, as it were, right? So
but I'm saying with Whisper, they could have had another hidden. They could have created something else.
Exactly.
They didn't need to bring that weapon back.
Yeah, same quest, same stuff, and then just have your reward be something different. Where's the new stuff that people are going? Oh my God, you have to have this. Well, it's amazing. Where are the new weapons? I said
that about the Arbalest. It's a new weapon. I love it.
Yeah. But that could have been the reward. That would have been fantastic.
Yeah,
People would have loved that.
Yeah, I would have the Arbalest or the Jotun or something like that be one of these rewards. Because honestly,
you got to admit
the Jotun's days are numbered.
The Jotun and the Arbalest, those are heavy weapons. Come on.
Their days are absolutely numbered.
Oh yeah, you know it's
With the sleeper simulant, if you angle the shot down on the floor, that it ricochets up, and you get about 3 or 4 shots suddenly come out of the floor, and that's meant to do 3 times the amount of damage more than a precision shot. I can't do it properly. I've given up trying to do ricochet shots to get triple the amount of damage by just like aiming it at the floor and seeing if I can get a bit like the hard light. I can't seem to do that properly, so I just aim for the head or aim for the crit spot.
We will have Panoramix take you aside and teach you the ways of the hard light. He is the master of the hard light.
As Ebontis said in his video, it's the top 10% of players that are able to accomplish this. And that's what I think Bungie are missing out on. It's not the 90% of the player base that are able to do these fantastic things with these weapons.
Yes, now we're going back into things that we've already said. Okay.
Enjoying the game.
It's been an hour and we've only covered 2 weapons.
Our podcast is about 3 things over and over again in different ways. If people haven't caught on by now, that's basically the gist of it.
Yeah, well, I want to get through this. So,
Lord of Wolves.
Lord of Wolves. I think it's been nerfed, but also kind of buffed. Because we were complaining last time about how you just shred through your ammo. So now that they've taken that off as the exotic perk, release the wolves, I am convinced it should be release the hounds. Just saying. But whatever, that's been reworked. So now instead of it being a passive ability that happens on a critical hit or kill, happens on a kill, now you have to actively hold down the reload button to engage it. I like that because I didn't really like having the 10 shots after a kill. Because if the 5 shots killed the enemy, odds are 5 shots are going to kill the next enemy too. And you've just wasted 5 shots, And
his friend will think twice about walking toward him.
Yeah, so I do like that. I think that, in my opinion, is a buff. But it did get some pretty significant nerfs as well. So the damage was reduced by 20%. This is not an insignificant amount of damage. 1/5 of its damage has just gone away.
But they did just bring it up significantly in a previous patch.
Yeah, but they brought all shotguns up in a previous patch.
No, but they did rework the Lord of Wolves.
Okay, you might be right. I don't remember enough to argue with you, so I'm going to drop it at that. But still, 1/5 of the damage
doubting myself.
is significant. Okay. No longer 200 PvE damage and range bonuses on this effect have been removed, meaning the Wolves perk. They have been removed and replaced with a universal bonus damage instead. Again, kind of like that. That's just me. Other people might think it's a bigger nerf. I don't have a lot to say on the Lord of Wolves. It sucks that we lose 1/5 of the damage, but I think the other changes made to this weapon, in my opinion, were actually buffs, not nerfs. So I'm leaving that alone.
With this weapon, they've taken away the fun element again, because this weapon has only come to the forefront of gameplay in recent months with the fact that you could go into a strike with 3 of you on solar burn and stand in front of a boss and just burn it down without being stomped, really.
But that has nothing to do with the exotic perk, because the exotic perk doesn't trigger until you kill something. So
no, but it was just drop your rift, all unload into the boss, and boss is gone. And it's that power fantasy, and that's something that they're reducing with the PvE damage.
That seems to be the conflicting. Bungie wants to give us the power fantasy maybe in PvP, but they don't want to give us that same power fantasy in PvE. They're going to say in PvP we want you to be strong, in PvE it breaks the game, and you can just melt things too fast.
I get the opposite reaction because people are complaining about how strong things are in PvP, and that's when Bungie starts to nerf things. Because in PvE, nobody really complains until they start complaining about PvP. And there's been a lot of streamers out there that have said that PvP broke Destiny because of all the nerfs and everything that happened in direct relationship to PvP.
Does any one of you have the sleeper catalyst?
Yeah.
Nope.
Okay, so what does the sleeper catalyst do?
I don't know. I'd have to go look. I haven't used the sleeper in a while.
Because I heard quite a few YouTubers say that there's no point in actually getting the sleeper catalyst now. The amount of effort and hard work that you have to go through to get the sleeper catalyst, because you have to, isn't it? You have to do the hard mode Spyro Stars raid for a possibility to drop So nobody's going to want to go and get that now. Nobody's going to want to put themselves through that for another nerfed weapon.
The Spire of Stars isn't that hard, though.
No, but it was, but I don't think you'll find a lot of people doing the challenge mode of it now.
Right.
That's fair.
Yeah, so the Sleeper Catalyst, it'll give you a plus 75 charge time and plus 2 ammo in reserves. So shoot faster, hold a little more ammo.
So are you going to really try and put yourself through that to get a catalyst?
I think I just got it by happenstance. I wasn't actively trying for it. I got it, and I was like, oh, that's cool.
Before we move on to the Ace of Spades, because that's more of a Crucible PvP kind of thing, I just want to discuss those, again, 2 previous weapons. Or 3 previous weapons, sorry.
Okay.
Flashback.
Yeah, you got to do the flashback thing for you, too. Because I heard it. I listened to the podcast. All right. Oh, can you do like the Bill and Ted? Not Bill and Ted. Wayne's World. Diddly-doo, 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 diddly-doo.
Don't know if I can get away with that.
Okay, that's fair.
Oh, you've got it right there. There's your clip right there. Problem solved.
All right, problem solved. Continue. Diddly-doo, 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 diddly-doo.
With these weapons, I think they've got it in mind for, as I said, what's coming up in the future. So would they have not been better to have changed the boss encounters and not the weapons? I mean, how many bosses have stomp mechanics to knock you further away?
All of them? Even non-bosses?
Which is why you find people using sniper rifles at a longer distance, because they can just constantly hit those headshots from a distance. There's nothing that encourages that close quarter attack. You know, Destiny 1, we had swords and exotic swords where you could take down a boss, or in so the Wrath of Machine with the spider woman Siva fallen thing at the end, you could drop a bubble and just go to town on those legs with swords spinning round. That was fantastic because it gave you something else to do. You know, other people use rockets, but it was a combination of things where you could. The boss didn't stamp, and it was good fun. It was a good mechanic. And I don't understand why they couldn't implement something like that in these new raids and going on further in Destiny 2.
Don't get me started on the stomp mechanic, because that is a whole nother rant for a whole.
But that is a reason why people use the range weapons on bosses.
Yeah. Well, you can also use a sword. You know, the stomp mechanic's going to hurt you, but if you time the sword strike, you're not going to get knocked away. You're just going to get hurt.
Yeah.
Really badly. And you're not going to survive a second stomp.
But it would encourage more people to get closer and use swords, use shotguns. Yeah, I mean, you run in, you do your slamming fist and do a debuff to the boss. But
I'm completely on board. I stand by the stomp mechanic being the worst thing they've ever put in Destiny. By far. I absolutely hate that. Like, if I ever find the dev that made that, I would strap him to a table. That's how badly I hate that mechanic.
So, with that, I did have a think. Again, I had another little epiphany. So, they're thinking of possibly, raid encounters being broken by the Whisper. So, why not have a counter to the Whisper perk? So, on that specific encounter, why not have a debuff for anything that can...
Well, they already have that. They already have shields. Whether they be rotating shields or just immunity, unless you do something to get rid of the immunity.
But like in certain missions, we get a debuff. You can't jump high, or you're constantly poisoned, or things like that. Why didn't they have I've called it a black hand, basically for a debuff? So you can't use white nail.
That's racist.
You can't use white nail on that specific encounter. Why not just put something simple as a debuff to certain things in certain encounters, so that people could still use that weapon?
Probably easy
in other encounters.
It's probably easier to just nerf a weapon, if we're being realistic.
I mean, yeah,
it is.
But
it adds a bit more.
Yeah, it's like the same reason they didn't take the Luna's Howl and the Not Forgotten out of quick play. And I think a lot of these changes go back to the problem of it being one world we're living in.
I don't think they should take
PvE and PvP. No, right. I mean, they're not going to, obviously. they're gonna nerf them instead. But I think that's sort of the problem we go back to is PvE and PvP being one thing, and that being at the root of a lot of these problems. If you make a change in one place, it's going to affect in the other place, and then how does that balance out? I would love to see Destiny 3 have some sort of delineation between these two, where they could then make changes, or have them build in a backend system to say, we can make these changes on one side and not the other side. And maybe it would give them, because I almost wonder if there's either not a way for them to do it or not a way for them to do it easily. Make these more granular changes.
Isn't that what they said with
They can
between
do that.
Destiny 1 and Destiny 2?
They
said,
can
going
do
forward
that.
in Destiny 2, we can adjust these weapons individually, and we can adjust these weapons between PvE and PvP. And they have done.
But here's the rub. They're
majority of
nerfing those two guns in the game mode that they were made for.
We're not talking about this. Move on. That was last week.
Yeah, well,
But that's why I'm saying, why is there not a debuff in the specific encounters? Or
that would be nice.
Complicated to make.
That then you've got to make a decision to swap to a different weapon, and then it doesn't take the fun element out of going to those encounters and activities that you enjoy doing using those weapons.
And you keep talking about the fun element, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it takes the fun.
I
don't think it takes the fun element out if I have a weapon that I can just shoot.
Respawn doesn't play games for fun. He has no fun or joy in his life.
Shut up. No, what I'm saying is, you keep saying, "Oh, well, they do this in order to keep things fun." I enjoy tagging people in the head with the whisper. You just took away my fun by nerfing the whisper, or the Luna's Howl or the Not Forgotten. I enjoy 3-shotting people. You're taking away my fun by doing those nerfs.
But that's what I'm saying. If they put like what I called it as a black hand debuff in, say, this raid encounter, so rather than using white nail, it just pulls from your reserves. So they're using the nerf that they've suggested, but it's only in certain areas that this black hand is going to be relevant in. So people can still use the weapon. They can still
but people are only using the weapon in
shots.
those specific encounters to begin with. That's the whole reason they're doing this, is because
yes, but it still gives you. It would still give them the opportunity to use those weapons, but rather than pull from thin air, it would pull from reserves, because the black hand debuff is
what you're
on
saying
the screen.
What you're saying is 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other. You're saying the same thing that they're already doing, right? You're saying in specific encounters, give them, like you said, the black hand perk. Well, this gun is only used in specific encounters. So
but I'm saying going forward in certain encounters where they can foresee that this is going to be an issue, why can they not just put a debuff for those specific things? Like the ricochet, they could put a debuff for that it doesn't ricochet off surfaces in this room, but
again,
people can still have their fun and use it in the encounters that have already been and are in the game now. I think that's the problem, is because people want to use the weapon in the encounters that they are now, like in The Last Wish or The Scourge of the Past.
Right.
But going forward, Bungie want to say, right, we're going to nerf this weapon, or we're going to stop the possibility of this weapon being too powerful. Just put a debuff. That's all you need to do. Get to a boss encounter, it's got a debuff on it. All throughout the rest of the game, if you're going through a strike, you can use that weapon, pull as much ammo as you like out of thin air, shoot all the mini bosses all the way through. You get to that end encounter, and it's got a debuff on the screen, and you can only use like the 12 or 18 bullets that are in the magazine. Once that's gone, if there's no heavy on the floor for you to pick up, that's it, it's gone. But again, it gives the player a choice to use that weapon. Do you go with that weapon?
I see what you're saying, but at that point in time,
that amount of time?
At that point in time, I'm trying to see it from your perspective, but all I can see is the domino effect, right? So now you've gotten to this encounter where you can't use the whisper. So now your only option is
you can use the whisper, but it pulls from your reserves rather than your...
I understand. This is what I'm saying. You go into this encounter, they're like, oh, well, we can't use this effectively, so we're going to use Sleeper or the Arbalest, right? And now that becomes the go-to weapon for that encounter. Well, now Destiny sees, all everybody's using is the Arbalest. Let's nerf the Arbalest. It's a domino effect.
But they've obviously tested these other weapons.
Don't say obviously, because there's a lot of stuff that Bungie does that I find very questionable.
Okay. But when we first did Kingsfall, and there were debuffs on the screen. Nobody knew what these debuffs were. You remember having to run around that room and have a debuff of shooting orbs and doing different things. In encounters, in raids, we're now attuned to these debuffs. So I think dropping a debuff on somebody is a little bit less harsh than nerfing a weapon, because people would have gone into that raid encounter thinking, oh, I could use Whisper. Oh, there's a debuff on the screen. What does that mean? And when they start using Whisper or anything like Lunar Faction or Rally Barricade, and there's a consequence to the weapon that they're using, they think, oh, okay, well, I can use this weapon up to a point.
I get
maybe
what you're
I'd have to
saying.
switch.
You're saying the same thing in a different way. I get it. I just don't agree with it.
But I'm saying that we've had debuffs in encounters in raids and strikes previous.
Yes, I know.
So what is the issue with now putting a slightly different debuff in the
I can't answer that
future?
question, but it's still a weapon nerf, in my opinion. Even if it's only in that one boss room and that one encounter, you're still forcing somebody to use a different weapon other than the one that
But you get super nerfs, don't you? I remember my light being drained. Where was that? That must have been in Scourge of the Past. No, not Scourge of the Past.
The
Kingsfall?
room. It wasn't the room with the. You had to do the relay race back to the middle and the left and right.
Relay race, yeah.
I can't remember what that was called now.
On tier 2 and tier 3 of Reckoning, if you have to fight the thingy of Oryx, the Shadow of Oryx on that final platform, that thing can drain your light as well. What is the issue with debuffs and draining lights or draining ammo from your reserves?
I'd be okay with them draining ammo, because that isn't a specific weapon nerf. So you're not saying they can't use the sleeper. You're saying they can't use any heavy weapon.
Mm-hmm.
You see?
Fine, we do it that way. The black can just steals your ammo.
You got to kill ads to refill it. I mean, I'd be okay with that. You go into a room, you have no sleeper ammo or heavy ammo. You got to do a boss phase, kill ads, and then you'll get ammo, and then you can do at least the second boss phase with whatever. Right?
Yeah,
I don't know.
But that's what I'm saying. There are things that they could have done.
Diddly-doo, 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 diddly-doo. Right. Okay, so Ace of Spades, it's been buffed. Oh, I'm sorry. Nerfed. That's the word.
Just kidding.
Right. No, it's been nerfed. Bungie said Ace of Spades is pretty hot in the Crucible. I disagree. This is bad verbiage. It is pretty hot in the Crucible on PC.
PC only.
And PC only. We have to specify that. But yet everybody's getting the nerfs. So, yay. Anyway, so Ace of Spades is pretty hot in the Crucible on PC and has been since its inclusion in Destiny 2. Hey, I'm illiterate, by the way. The number of perks on the weapon combined with the semi-permanent effect of Memento Mori gives the weapon too many advantages compared to other weapons. Now that Memento Mori ends when you stow the weapon, you'll need to make a decision on whether or not you'll keep the weapon drawn to retain the bonus. I don't think that's much of a nerf, honestly, because if the weapon is that good, you have it out all the time anyway? Question? Memento Mori now ends if the weapon is stowed. Got that. PvP bonus of Memento Mori was slightly reduced to prevent two-tapping Guardians, while Vengeance, One-Eyed Mask, was active. I love how they have to specify the Titan on there. Not because you're two-tapping with just anything. No, because the Titan can two-tap. Once again, we're going back to the whole Titans are way too overpowered. Guys, Bungie.
Go to Bungie's feedback forums and tell them all about it.
Oh, I have, man. You know how many paragraphs are on there from me? They probably banned me by now, I swear.
0.
There's a few. Memento Mori is active for 6 shots, again, up from 5. Okay, so.
A buff, we found it.
Yeah. Okay, no. I honestly don't even think it was nerfed that bad, except for the Memento Mori perk. Right? That was nerfed pretty bad. Just the damage on the perk is what I mean. Them stowing the weapon and pulling it back out and still being there. Yes, that is overpowered. I will agree. That is overpowered. But if the gun is that good on PC, I can't really see them swapping back and forth very often unless, they go CQC with a shotgun or something. Do a shotgun or ape slide thing. But other than that, they're going to keep it out probably 75% of the time, 80%, guessing.
I mean, if you think about it, the gun has so many perks on it.
It
You've
does.
got the Memento Mori,
Mhm.
you've got the radar from
Mhm.
looking down sights, and you can hold the charge.
Yeah.
It was definitely, going along the lines of something needs to be taken away from this gun. And this is the way of sort of nerfing it. Cammy Cakes did come up with a good suggestion for changing it. He says, what happens if Memento Mori only procs on headshot kills and removing high caliber as a more suitable change? Again, they haven't consulted him, so he's upset.
Yeah, and that would be a good change to the weapon where a skill weapon requires skill to make the skill weapon do good things. And maybe there's something else, with the sleeper and the Whisper of the Worm where, maybe you could have it proc on certain aspects. I mean, PvP obviously easier. You can say, do this on headshots, do this on something where, again, you've got a high skill player with a high skill weapon. You have to use that high skill to get the full benefit out of it.
I think you guys are diving too deep into this. Honestly, I think that this quote unquote nerf actually isn't too bad, right? They toned it down a little bit so Titans can't 2-tap, which is fine, right? But other than that, I don't really see any severe nerfs aside from Memento Mori going away if you stow it. I'm okay with these changes, honestly. This isn't too bad. This is something you can work around, I think.
No, but I think an issue that has been brought up in the community, and Cool Guy says it very plainly in his YouTube video, this is one exotic on one character that the problem lies with. The problem is that it lies with the exotic armor, not the weapon.
Mm-hmm.
So the one-eyed mask is a thing that needs to kind of be tuned, not the weapon.
You think?
But they already nerfed our one-eyed mask. We nerfed it already. It was terrible.
But
sorry,
they're saying that.
Hold on. Wait till we get the full armor portion of this rant. Then
I don't care about the one-eyed mask being nerfed. As long as I don't touch my lovely syntheseps, we'll be fine. And even if they do it, I'll move to something else.
But Cool Guy also points out that Bottom Tree Striker can 2-tap with Frontal Assault. You can also 2-tap with a Kindle Orchid that has Kill Clip and Rampage.
Uh-huh.
So with Memento Mori, you've got to get a kill previously. Mm-hmm. Same with Frontal Assault. Same with Kindle Orchid with the Kill Clip and Rampage. Yep. So it's the same kind of situation. You have to get a kill before you get the 2-tap kill, but you can still do it without the one-eyed mask. It doesn't make any sense why you're touching a weapon because of an exotic helmet.
Right, and we're right back to an exotic weapon now being the same thing as a legendary weapon. If you've got a Kindle Orchid with the right rolls, you can do the same thing. Or a Bottom Tree Striker Titan, you can do basically the same thing.
I have that Kindle Orchid. It is nasty.
See, Kindle Orchid is a 150 RPM hand cannon. Ace of Spades is a 150 RPM hand cannon.
No, I can attest to that. I have the Kindle Orchid with the Kill Clip and Rampage. It's disgusting.
Also,
absolutely disgusting.
Another weapon that you can use is the Sturm. It has a trait, Storm and Stress. So kills with Drang, which is the sidearm that if you pair it with, grants bonus precision damage until the next reload. But it also doesn't stop there. You don't need to use Drang. Kills with any energy weapon grant bonus precision damage until the next reload. So there's another weapon that's got a higher damage output, because I think it's a 110 RPM, that can be used instead of Ace, but that can 2-tap. The mind boggles with the wording of the reasoning behind what they're doing with Ace. I don't use Ace, but I can still feel the pain that other players are going to go through for this because of one-eyed mask.
Yeah.
Look,
at this point, I hate the fact that Titans are so OP. I've made that abundantly clear. But I don't think the one-eyed mask needs to be nerfed. I think the other two classes need to have an equivalent exotic. That's what I think. If the Titans can run around with this type of exotic, why don't the other two classes have something similar? It's a great exotic. If I wasn't just boycotting my Titan because of how OP Titans are right now, I would absolutely use it. I have it. I would absolutely use it. It's a great exotic. But my problem isn't with the exotic. My problem is with it makes Titans too powerful without something to balance the other two classes to do the same thing. That's my problem. So they're nerfing this again. I'm not really, or they're not nerfing the one-eyed mask. I'm sorry. They're nerfing the Ace of Spades because of the one-eyed mask. At least that's what this verbiage tells us.
Mm.
Right? So,
like I was saying, it doesn't make any sense because there are other weapons and things that you can use.
yeah. And
So,
exactly like you
life
said,
as such.
there's other weapons that are just as bad. You know?
So they're not stopping there, are they, Bungie?
Oh,
they're not.
no. So here's
Exotic armor is next under the chopping board.
this is the actual Respawn Rants for today. The whole thing has been called the Respawn Rant because there's just a whole lot of going on. But this is the actual Respawn Rants because this is truly what has gotten under my skin since I heard this.
Okay, before you rant, let's have Peroty do some talking because we've missed his soothe.
Peroty doesn't need to talk. He has
Calm.
nothing to rant about because his Titan's amazing and beautiful and has had about 2 hours of play this entire week.
You better not. Nope. I've been waiting all week.
Let him read what Bungie has said.
I will read the Bungie part, then you can read the actual changes, the Skull of Dire Amankara, etc., etc., etc.
Okay.
Take
All
it away,
you, buddy. So, exotic weapons on the chopping block, exotic armor next up on the chopping block. So, along with the weapons we've already talked to death, we will be making some changes to some exotic armor pieces. Primarily, we're paying attention to the exotic armor that grant back super energy. We felt they are increasingly becoming must-pick gear choices. Orb generation from teammates is meant to be the best way to accelerate your super generation. These exotics are allowing players to bypass this teamwork mechanic by generating a large amount of super energy without relying on any other player's orbs. Also, because these items are so overwhelmingly strong in situations where players face off against a large number of enemies, some activities were designed considering the use of the armor such as the Orpheus Rigs, the Phoenix Protocol, the Skull of Dire Amankara, etc. This means if someone in your farm team doesn't have one of these super exotic equips, the activity becomes more difficult. We're making some changes to these art pieces to try to preserve their power fantasy, but still leave them as viable choices for difficult activities without making the players feel like they must have them equipped or be at a huge disadvantage, like trying to run, say, a Croto raid without the Galahorn in Destiny 1, or running a bottom 3 Striker Titan before they took away his orb-generating fantasies and be able to run through the entire Whisper quest on one super. So we now have Respawn who would like to soothingly, calmly bring us over the super-generating exotic changes we're going to see in the Season of Opulence.
There's nothing soothing or calming about anything that's about to occur, just so that you know. Okay, so let's start off. Once again, guess who's not really getting nerfed by these changes that we've seen thus far? Titans. Titans are having one armor piece nerfed. Warlocks are having 2. Hunters are having 3 armor pieces nerfed. Once again, why the hell is everybody targeting hunters with such gleeful abandon and hateful disregard? I don't even know if that fits. I'm just angry. Okay, so these things, like Bungie said, some events were built specifically with these exotics in mind. So if you nerf these exotics, are you going to change those encounters? That's my first thing. I don't think they're going to change those encounters at all. So what they're going to do is they're going to nerf the exotics that these events were designed around, and now we still have to do the events without the piece of gear that we need to do it effectively. Thanks, Bungie! And getting back to the whole which ones are getting nerfed. So we have the Skull of Dire Ahamkara, Orpheus Rigs, and Phoenix Protocol are now receiving super energy back with diminishing returns, making it rarer to get a full super back when used. Has anybody listening ever thought to themselves, wow, I hate the fact that I make too many orbs, or wow, I've got my super back already. This is a shame. I'm not having any fun. No, the game is all about the power fantasy. These help us live out our power fantasies. We enjoy getting our super backs and just deleting entire mobs of enemies. It's fun. That's what makes the game fun. Why are you taking it away from us, Bungie? You're not going to get the full super back in PvP. This is only in PvE. Have you ever tethered somebody? Well, it probably has happened. I'm not going to go there. But let's put it like this. How often can you tether somebody inside the Crucible and get your super back? I haven't seen it happen hardly ever, if at all. Just as an example. Skull of Dire Ahamkara. All right, you know what? I'll admit that one is a really, really good exotic. I use that on my Warlock all the time. Okay, it is honestly OP. right? You hit 2 or 3 people, you have most, if not all, of your super back, and that does occur pretty often in PvP. I've done that myself. It's fun. Sorry. Phoenix Protocol, that only happens in PvE, right? I mean, technically, I guess if you have a bunch of morons rushing you while you're in your Wall of Radiance, I guess you could get your super back, but I don't think it's likely, if I'm being honest. Because the time it takes you to kill them to respawn and run back to you inside your well, could you even get your super back in that amount of time? I don't think you could. So that's obviously a PvE thing only. So from my perspective, they're taking the best parts of PvE and the best exotic armors to use for PvE, these must-pick gear choices, away from us, which is effectively stripping us of our fun. Why, though? Why? I enjoy using Orpheus rigs. Unless I'm in PvP, those Orpheus rigs are permanently glued to my hunter's legs. I never change them for anything else. When I go to PvP, I put on the Shards of Galanar, which, by the way, is also on the chopping block. We'll get to that in a minute. But it's why? Can anybody tell me why? Somebody. Why is having a must-pick gear choice a bad thing? It makes the game fun. How many people have complained about a hunter generating tons of orbs in a strike? Nobody. Because it's a good thing. Me and Blue Screen were playing the other day. We were doing forges. He had the Well of Radiance with the Phoenix Protocol. I had the Tether with the Orpheus rigs. And he was laughing so hard, he was choking. You should have heard him. He was actually choking. He was coughing. He was laughing so hard because we had our supers the entire time. It was amazing. It was fun. It causes people to laugh, to enjoy themselves, to enjoy your game. So why are you taking it away? So that somebody uses a different exotic? We don't use those exotics because we don't want them. There is no exotic. If you nerf my Orpheus rigs and my Shards of Galanar and my Gwynson vest into Oblivion, there's no other exotic I'm going to want to use. It's not like, no. What?
No. I know exactly what exotic you're going to use. Aeon Swift.
I will drop kick. But you did prove my point. You proved my point. There's no other really good exotics to use in that situation. In PvP, the hunters have the worm husk. You dodge, it gives you health back. Hunters have that. I use that in PvP sometimes. But aside from that, or the Shards of Galanar, what else are you going to use? You would have to completely switch your game, your playstyle. It's going to go back to the whole, at least for hunters, the one-shot golden gun, with 6 times damage. It's going to go back to that if they take away all these other things. And how long until that exotic gets nerfed? It seems like anytime we find things that are fun to do, Bungie has to take it away, which to me is stupid. People are already having to figure out why they play your game, why they're not going out and playing other games like Borderlands 3, which is coming out, like new expansions to games like Monster Hunter World, like so many other games that are coming out, and you're taking away the fun aspects of your game. Have you been drinking bleach? What is wrong with you? Stop doing stupid things, Bungie. Oh, we had to create encounters designed specifically for exotics. And that's what's fun about them. You get times to use these things specifically where it's enjoyable. And now, again, going back, now that we don't have those exotics the way that they were originally designed, are you going to change those encounters that they were designed for? I doubt it. So now you've just made the game more difficult and less fun. For what reason?
Again, I'd like to go back to the previous point that I made with debuffs in specific encounters. Why not have a compressed light debuff on a specific encounter you don't want people generating their supers back or creating loads of orbs for everyone using these specific exotic pieces? Makes sense to me. go into that encounter.
It does make sense.
You're not going to be able to get
and I can't argue with you.
the full amount back. Whereas if you did stuff that you're doing now that people are enjoying, like you were saying, the forges, they're still hard. Let's face it, those forges aren't easy. And we are not the type of players that can solo those forges. We will still die in those rifts with all the amount of enemies that are still shooting us. We will still die when we're tethering. It makes no sense to nerf these super generating things because of something that's coming.
Because they're doing what they should do.
Just put put a debuff on the specific thing that you don't want people using these to their full advantage on. People, yes, they'll find a way around it, and they're always going to, but that's the problem. People will still find a way around what you're doing to these exotics now. And it'll be that top 10% who will then filter it down in YouTube videos, will then filter down to other people, who will then filter it down to other people. And it'll always
that's
be
my
the same.
point. People are always going to find a way. It's just not going to be as fun.
With this, you haven't got people trying to seek out the way that you're going to, break the game. If you've got a debuff on that specific thing, even if you bring up other exotics and change them to generate more super energy and things like that.
Or just orbs.
If there's a debuff on that encounter, you still won't be able to, do stupid things basically on that encounter. You'd only be able to do what Bungie have guided you to what you can do, which is more of a compromise.
Yeah, and if you think back to D1, right? Let's go back to D1 for just a minute. Tether Hunter. We would generate a ton of orbs for everybody, but we never got orbs for ourselves. You had to have multiple Tether Hunters out so they could generate orbs for each other. Or a Titan Bubble Train, as an example. All these things where you would have to depend on other people to get your orbs. And it was okay. We figured it out. But whenever I played D2 and I saw that Orpheus Rig exotic, and then I saw that I can get my own super back when I use it, what? I love that so much. I love that idea that since I got those Orpheus Rigs, I've never really used anything else. And it's not because I don't have choices. Bungie, there's choices out there. And whenever I do feel bored on some occasions, I'll swap to something else and just do ridiculous things with blue screen. We found all kinds of little quirks and things that, all these other exotics have that we find fun for a while. But ultimately, we enjoy using what's most fun for us. And for me, that's the Orpheus Rigs. So I don't know how many other people out there, Skull of Dire Ahamkara, Orpheus Rigs, Phoenix Protocol, Shards, Ursa Furiosa, Gwynson Vest. How many people out there is this their favorite exotic? This is the only thing that they use. Not because there's nothing better, but because it's what they enjoy using.
I think we'll put a pin in that and come back to that point with Destiny 1 and the fun.
But I mean, that's my whole point about this exotic armor. That's why I'm so about this. It's because they're nerfing, especially hunters, right? That's a whole different topic that I've beaten to a bloody pulp. How they're always messing with hunters specifically. But whatever. Moving past that, they are taking away our ability to recover our own supers. That is a new thing in Destiny 2, and we love it. Why are you trying to take it away from us? You've just split up with a major company. You're trying to figure out how you're going to finance your future. So you do this by taking away things we enjoy? In what universe does that make any sense? That's what I don't get. Why are you doing these things to your players like me all the time? I don't need more fuel for the fire. I can do that myself. I need you to give me a game that I can enjoy playing. It is a game. It is supposed to be fun. It is supposed to be something I enjoy doing. But when you do things like this, it just and I go play other things instead of your game. Sorry. Shards of Galanor and Ursa Furiosa had their super gain caps reduced to be in party.
You should know how to read that word.
Right? Shards of Galanor and Ursa Furiosa had their super energy gain caps reduced to be in parity with other super exotic changes. I can understand that with the Ursa Furiosa. I can. But there was another YouTuber, I want to say Fallout. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I want to say Fallout said that Shards of Galanor are already kind of in a niffy place. They're not consistent. I've taken out entire groups of people in PvP and only gotten half of it back. I've taken out one guy in PvP and gotten 2/3 of it back. It's highly inconsistent. on the amount of super energy that it gives you back. So you
And
get to
that's how
nerf
the
it even
Ursas
more?
feel. Yeah, and the Ursas feel sort of the same way. You can walk through a whole mob of enemies and have like no super back, or you can walk through a whole mob of enemies and have your 3/4 of your super back. It sort of seems like hit and miss, but it counts as damage.
Yeah,
I guess. Yeah.
the Ursas irk me at the moment with that. You don't always get a full super back.
Yeah.
After that
and
previous
it's the
nerf
same
that they
thing with
just did.
shards, right? I don't think shards needs to be messed with. Or Ursa Furiosa for that example. You need to get them so that they're consistent first. And then maybe we can see where we go from there.
The thing is, with the Ursas, you have to take so much damage to get it back 100%. And if you slip and fall on a banana skin, basically, and don't get and die, you don't get that super back. You've just lost everything.
You get nothing back.
Everything that you're trying to work towards, So, yeah.
So, I mean, those I don't think need to be nerfed at all. They're like, oh, well, the super gain caps have been reduced. I don't think I've ever gotten my super back fully with the shards, period.
Then you're not doing it right.
Obviously.
The thing with the Ursas is we're not doing any damage to the boss or to whatever you're trying to damage. We are basically protecting the rest of the team. There is a damage buff to 2, 3, 4, 5 other players that are shooting through your.
And the only damage you can do is if you're playing, say, Gambit and you walk through a group of enemies and you've got that middle tree sentinel on, where you're strapping detonators to their chest. It will proc the detonators on your enemies, but but you're not dealing any damage. You're not putting out any DPS to anything.
You're just basically a support.
That reminds me of D1 Bubble Titan
and Orpheus Rig.
D1 Bubble Titan with I forgot what perk it was, but you popping your shield and having it attacked. That's the one. That was an amazing skill right there. And it sounds to me like,
but with those, you could pop the bubble and you could reap the rewards from the bubble. But with this, you are basically supporting the team. Unlike the other two supports with the Phoenix Protocol and the Orpheus Rigs, they're different because you can activate those things and then you can do damage. Whereas with the Titan, it makes no sense for it to be nerfed for that because you are supporting the rest of the team.
So they're a man down, but they're protected.
Yeah.
So the idea is to have that Titan get his super back so that he can continue to protect his team. I think that's already balanced, right? If you gave the Ursa Furiosa in PvE, let me be specific, or even Gambit, PvE or Gambit, if they could get their full super back, I'd be okay with that because
I don't mind the way it is now. I can work with that. But if they're saying that there's an issue with it, maybe do reduce damage from outgoing fire to an enemy.
Okay, you mean the fire that goes through? Okay, I see. Well,
yeah. So if they're saying there's an issue with the reason why you've got it up, the reason why you've got it up is because the extra damage and you're protecting your team. So maybe nerf the damage that you're outputting to the boss.
Well, I don't even think that's necessarily a thing because the team is already nerfed. The team is a man down. Yes, they're protected and they're staying alive, but they're a man down. So that's what I'm saying. If my Titan got his super back fully to keep protecting us, and we're essentially debuffed because we have a man down, that's fine. In PvE, like I said, in PvP, I don't want one of these guys running around the corner with an Ursa Furiosa, and my teammate behind me thinks it's a good idea to shoot this guy's shield, only to give him his full super back. I don't agree with that aspect of it. But as far as PvE goes, I'd leave it alone. I really would.
I mean, Cool Guy and Fallout both say in their YouTube videos, they both point out that super mods aren't being touched or even talked about. And in Fallout's video, he explains the reasons why the super mods are so widely used, especially in comp with super generation. But Bungie aren't even saying anything about that. I think he was saying with he was saying with the chaperone and getting kills with the chaperone, he can get his super in PvP in just over a minute. That is ridiculous. Now, if you're doing that in PvE with all the other weapons that you can get to generate extra supers, I think Telesto does, doesn't it, with a certain Warlock build. But you imagine that 5 super mods, that and that. It's ridiculous what you can actually do with generating a super really
Oh,
quickly.
yeah. With my warlock, I
But it
use
doesn't
that
make any
element,
sense.
the one with the horns. Oh god, I can't remember what it is now. But
Nezarec Sin?
void damage kills.
Nezarec
Yeah,
Sin,
that's
wasn't
it. Nezarec Sin with my my Telesto or even my Kindle Orchid. I get my super back sub 1 minute. That's amazing. I love that. Again, stop breaking stuff, Bungie. Don't you go after that exotic next.
But Cool Guy also says that he points out that nerfing these exotics will not make the Mechanist Trek sleeves go a go-to now, or Lucky Raspberry or Gemini Jesters, Wings of Sacred Dawn, any of those any better. They're still going to be used as nothing else is going to take its
And that's
place.
back to my other point about you're just making it less fun. That's all Bungie's doing. Because nobody's going to use different exotics. Well, I don't want to say nobody. Once these exotics gets nerfed, people are going to use other things. I get that. But for the people like me that are still going to use the Orpheus rigs and the Shards of Galanor, all you've done is you've made the game less fun for me. You've made it more likely for me to go play something else that I do find more fun, that I still have the power fantasy, as it were.
I mean, it's fun to play like this. This is what some of the player base loves. The ones that have stuck with the game so far.
Yeah.
You know, why are there only 3 exotics that are available that can do this? Why are there not more?
Yeah.
You know,
why don't we have
to open up the play styles?
Right?
Yeah. Why are they saying that people are having to rely on these 3? It's because you created these 3. I mean, armor changes
because they're good and we enjoy it.
Yeah. I mean, armor changes are understandable.
Yeah.
But why have they been made like this? It's not like Bungie are a new company. It's not like it's their first game. It's not like it's a new IP. This is D2. Surely knowing what people did in D1, you know, with burning down of bosses and string supers, orb generation, with some clue not to put these items back into D2, you know, or put them in with potential to have so much crutch on them, or to be so overpowered, it's a must-have. I mean, we all remember the days of if you haven't got a Galahorn, you don't get into the Crota raid on LFGs anyway.
Right.
But then they've created their own worst enemy in these exotics. They're saying that these exotics
I don't like
are
that
crutch
verbiage.
weapons.
It's not their own worst enemies. The exotics are good. There's nothing wrong with the exotics. The only problem
no, but
is we don't have more exotics that are on that level. That's the problem.
But I mean, that's what they're saying. They're saying that these are the ones that the players rely on for these specific things. But they created these specific things, and they've created these exclusive armor pieces that people will want to use because they are fun. But again, it's because they haven't got anything else to fall back on. You know, what were they thinking with those Aeon things that they came out with? Nobody uses. They've all been sharded or infused into something else. You know,
remember those YouTube videos where they actually tried to make use of them? They actually had their fire team using all of them, and they were just absolute. Like, these YouTubers tried to make it work. They tried to make it do something, and even using it to its fullest potential, it pales in comparison to. Am I wrong for saying this? Every other exotic? I mean, come on.
But I've got an exotic that refills my submachine guns when I switch submachine guns because I run around with 2 submachine guns. So,
you know, I
have been using that. It's good.
Look,
fun.
I think me and Blue were the first. Well, I think I'm the one that came up with it first, and then I taught it to Blue Screen. Me and Blue had so much fun with that build. So much fun. And Blue, even the other day, he was playing with me. He goes, I miss playing with you. I'm like, oh, that's kind of weird.
He's just lying to you.
Yeah,
he's just saying what you want to hear.
Obviously. And he says, because we have so much fun. We try out new things, and we have fun doing stupid stuff, right? Because it's he and I. That's how we function. And yeah, we'll use different exotics to see what they do. But in the end, if I'm playing serious, I'm using my go-tos because they're good. You don't want us to use these? Don't nerf them, Bungie. Be intelligent about this. Don't take away fun. Add more fun. Give us different options that are just as good, but in different ways. How about that? As a mind-blowing concept for you devs out there that think it's a good idea to keep taking away the cool. Give us something else to put in its spot that we will also enjoy just as much, but maybe in a different way. Maybe I don't know. I don't have any ideas. Give me a day. Give me a week. I'll come up with some stuff. Point is you've had how many years to come up with stuff? And this is the best you can do? Really?
Exotic boots that let me slide to maybe sometimes deflect incoming projectiles.
I thought those were going to be super overpowered when they came out, and then when we actually started,
and then they came out broken for one.
Yeah,
so that's always fun.
That's crazy. Whatever.
As a counterpoint to our arguing over these things getting nerfed, Dato's got a good video explaining that the power fantasy that we currently have at the moment has been affecting the power creep, and he has a good argument as to why Bungie are doing this, and it's worth a watch. But he also says that the weak exotics need to be buffed to balance this out. So I will link Dato's video, Fallouts, and Cool Guys in the show notes this week.
Well, the last exotic that's on the chopping block, we talked about last week, so I'm not really going to go into it, but it's the Gwynson Vest. It's had its energy reduced from 15% to 8% for killing 1 or 2 Guardians. Also, like we mentioned before, one of the big nerfs was you can still melee across the map, but that second that you hit a Guardian, your super is basically gone. So, also another nerf to another Hunter exotic. A lot of people were happy to see this. I'm a little because I like the Gwynson Vest the way it was, because it finally gave me an opportunity to get revenge on some of these Titans that have been one-shot meleeing me all match. But I'm a little salty, I'll admit. But yeah, we've already been over that. I'm not going to go over it again. We also went over Cool Guy and Fallout Plays, nerfs, videos. I think that's it for the rant. If you don't understand why nerfing some of these exotics are a bad thing, even if Dato kind of explains from his point of view why they're a good thing, he's not wrong. But I just don't agree personally. I don't like having things that I enjoy taken away from me just because Bungie thinks that it's overpowered. I play your game because I like to feel overpowered. I like to fly around. I like to, pull a golden gun out of nowhere and just one shot a boss. Whatever. I enjoy doing these things. That's why I play your game. When you begin to take these things away from me, you make me not want to play your game. And not only am I the one that feels like this, but look at all the other players that have stopped playing since its launch. That should be enough of an indicator on its own, Bungie. Shape up, stop making stupid decisions, and for God's sake, reach out to your player base before you enact these changes so that you can see the reaction of people before you do them.
That's something that I wanted to bring up, is in the TWAB, they mentioned that there's a conversation between us and them. Honestly, like you were saying earlier, you haven't had a conversation. Nobody, as far as I know, in the whole community has had a conversation about these changes. It's too late to start a conversation now with this is what we're doing. That's not a conversation. That's a one-sided.
Yeah, that's the conversation
argument.
they're having. They're like, hey, this is what we're going to do. And then the conversation is people complaining about why that's a bad idea. That's the conversation, is people saying what's bad about your game. Instead of having those kinds of conversations, why don't you have a more constructive one and say, hey, we're thinking about enacting these changes. What do you think? Hey, that is a bad idea. If you do that, I'm going to go play Borderlands 3.
Yeah, I mean, it's too late to start one now, once you've put these in place. And they're adamant that these are coming. Because like you said, with the programming and everything else, everything's been put in place. It's coming. There's nothing that anybody could do about it. No amount of moaning, no amount of complaining on the forums. At this point of time, these are the changes that are going to go through, even though they may be rectified later on. This is what we're going to have to deal with now. I don't understand, if there were concerns about these items, why were they not raised, months back, saying we want your feedback on this, this, and this? And I know Cosmo's done it several times in previous TWABs and on Twitter. There's been, oh, what do you think of this? Oh, what do you think of that? So why haven't they done it this time? They could have done any, they could have asked us, what do you think of X, Y, and Z? And they could have just been secretly trying to look at what X did, but they just want our feedback on Y and Z as well.
Look, if
you know, so they didn't have to specifically say one thing, or it could have been X, Y, and Z.
I think they don't really need to have a conversation about things that they're doing in the game that'll be like, hey, we're bringing in a new weapon. Hey, we're bringing in a new stage here. Things that are going to be like bonus material, let that be a surprise. I don't care. But if you're going to nerf something, no, I understand what you're saying. What I'm saying is, before you're going to make a nerf across the board of any kind, talk to your people, talk to your fan base. Don't just make the nerf and then be like, what have we done? Oh, everybody hates it. Yeah, because you didn't tell anybody before you made the change. We could have told you that's a bad idea. Don't do that. You know?
I mean, we know that new catalysts are coming into the game in the next couple of months. Maybe these are going to affect the weapons. We don't know because they're not saying anything to us. It could be data in the background which we don't know about that's helped them inform their decisions. But again, as a community, we don't know about, and that's frustrating.
But how often has a nerf netted in something positive happening after they've done a...
The Queenbreaker went away, although that was a fix more than a nerf, so 50-50 there.
I don't know. I like the Queensbreaker. I think the Queensbreaker was better than the freaking Sleeper.
But what is quite funny, listening to basically what Respawn has said today, and you, Peroty, something that I think all the community are aware of, and it was mentioned on the Last Word podcast with Abontis. They call it a honeymoon period with these weapons. They give us a great gun. They give us an amazing quest. We play it. We enjoy it for a while. And then, bam. They hit us with the nerf. The whole community, are up in arms about it. And it seems to just go round and round in circles. The whole community now have their eyes open to this tactic. And now there are concerns over Outbreak Perfected. Because again, like the Whisper, a weapon that's brought back from D1, go through a fantastic mission, really hard to accomplish. Weapon is overpowered in situations, especially if you're stacking players with the boss damage, you do the suppression. It's fantastic now, but just wait, give it a couple of months, and it'll be exactly like the Whisper. They'll hit it with a nerf because it's too overpowered. But they should have seen it coming. And we as a community now see it coming because it's happened again.
We give you a weapon. You have about a year or so to play with that weapon.
A year?
Sleeper came out. I looked up the Sleeper. It was about like a year, 18 months. I mean, Whisper I think has been less than that, but yeah. I mean, whatever it is,
Ace of Spades.
You've got a weapon that comes out.
Ace of Spades has not been out a year.
I mean, I didn't say Ace of Spades, but I mean, I would like to go back and look. I would love to have again put together a timeline on some of these things. But I think some of it is with the turnover of seasons, with the turnover of content. We're also seeing a turnover of weaponry, and we've seen that since the beginning.
That should be by choice.
Since the beginning of it.
That should be by choice, though. We
should
Bungie see new weapons. The beginning
has and I think like they said in that Go Fast Update developer video, they said in D1 maybe we should have nerfed some things that we didn't nerf. So I think maybe they've course corrected too far the other direction, saying let's nerf the things overly, and hopefully they'll pull that back, or maybe we'll start to pull that back. And say, let's find a happy medium here, because not nerfing things was a problem, nerfing everything is a problem. Let's find a happy medium somewhere in between.
Yeah, this isn't a happy medium for me at all, because when your player base, like he's talking about, when your player base is like, hey, we have a new gun, and their first reaction is, how long until this gets nerfed? You're doing something fundamentally wrong, in my opinion. Your player base should not be tentatively wondering when their favorite gun is about to go away. Unless it's because there's another gun coming out that's better. Not because this gun is worse, but because another gun comes out that's better. Like I said, hey, the Whisper's been nerfed. But what if they left the Whisper alone? And what if the Gjallarhorn came back? What if the Icebreaker came back? They're not necessarily better or worse. They're just different. I would use the Icebreaker 100%. I would use Gjallarhorn 100%. If there's another exotic that we had in the past, or if there's another exotic that we don't even know is coming, and it happens to be better than the Arbalest or the Outbreak Perfected, I'm going to use it. But not because they nerfed the Arbalest or the Outbreak. It's just because it's a different gun. It's a better gun. It does different things that I enjoy. Not because you forced me to use something because you want me to. You see what I'm saying when it comes to that? Just there's ways to get around this without having to nerf weapons. There's ways to get around it without having to buff weapons. Come up with weapons that just do different things. That's why Borderlands was so amazing. You had guns that just do different things. They're not necessarily better or worse than another one. They're just different. They're fun in their own way. As an example, it's not a perfect example, but it's the one that I came up with that I think fits the situation that we're in. Stop nerfing guns. Just give us different options. How hard is that?
I was going to say, one thing that we didn't discuss was the heavy ammo being inconsistent. Now, maybe that's a reason why they mentioned it casually in the TWAB or on Twitter a couple of weeks back, that they are looking into heavy ammo synths that we used to have from Destiny 1. Maybe that's going to play a significant role with these heavies that are being altered. Do you think that could be something that they are planning, but they just haven't told us yet?
I haven't noticed any heavy ammo inconsistencies. I've almost always got full heavy. So,
Okay.
Oh no, okay, standby. It's because all of my people all have 3 stacks of special ammo finder and 2 stacks of heavy ammo finder. So that probably has something to do with it. So
Possibly.
My statement, I prepared for lack of heavy ammo.
But I mean, I've heard throughout the community lots of people say it's very inconsistent. They're running the builds that you can get extra ammo drops, but nothing's dropping. You can go through a whole strike without something dropping. And yeah, I mean, sometimes that's happened to me, but I don't rely too much on the heavy. It's like you say, it's only something that when you get to the boss, that it's something that's reliable.
Right. It definitely for me seems to be who I'm playing with. There's certain people looking at you, Pan. When he's around, I get no heavy. It never drops. I remember sitting on Mars doing escalation protocol trying to finish out heavy kills with something, and it just will not drop for me, no matter what I do. Then the moment he leaves, the heavy starts flowing again. so there's definitely just some random. And again, I haven't changed my loadout. I haven't changed anything else. So maybe it's just my terrible RNG and terrible luck on this game with my Titan. That could very well be the case. I am perfectly willing to accept that as an explanation. But yeah, there's definitely sometimes the heavy flows like, wine down a river of gold, and sometimes you're going, okay, I saw a heavy brick. I think it was like 2014 when I saw it last, but I know I saw one. It was here.
Okay,
Yeah, there definitely needs to be a feast and famine.
I need to stop you. Okay, where in the have you ever seen a flowing river of wine down a river of gold? I want to go to that place immediately.
I'm pretty sure Callus has that in the Leviathan. You didn't pass that when you were underneath roaming around the last time you followed some guy who said, "Good, don't worry, guys. I know the way through the underneath here. I know the way through the underbelly.
Gold. I've seen the flowing river of wine, but not of
we need to
gold.
Be in. Oh, it's down there. I'm sure we passed it one day trying to follow someone who told us he knew the way through, and 4 hours later we were still wandering around in circles. It's down there. It's in the Leviathan. Go look for it.
That is interesting.
The other thing that Bungie said about the exotic armor pieces, where they want people to rely more on their teammates for orb generation and things like that. Now, I'm not sure if it's just me, but relying on teammates in strikes...
Worst thing ever.
Yeah. I mean...
Oh, yeah.
You get very few and far between orbs drop. You may get 1 or 2, but they're really small. They don't help you progress your super that much. So I think that's one of the reasons why people rely so much on their own super generation and these exotics to generate their own supers. Because unlike Destiny 1, where you worked as a team, like in Kingsfall, you worked as a team. You got, like you said earlier, the hunters did the tether at the beginning of the Oryx fight. Then the Titans would then drop their bubbles. Then you'd have other people generating to then refill the tethers up for the hunters. And it would work like that. You'd work as a team. These days, you don't seem to get that. I mean, I haven't been in the raid as such for Last Wish and Scourge of the Past. But Callus, it kind of worked like that with the tethers and the Orpheus rigs. Again, that was a bit more teamwork. But it was very few and far between what you were putting out for the hunters to then pick up. The hunters were relying on having the Orpheus rigs on to regenerate their own supers. So I think that's where some of the problem lies. I mean, we've got some orbs generating from masterworked weapons these days. You get 2 kills, you get an orb to drop. But again, I'm not sure if I get a kill, that's an orb for everybody else that drops, or if it's just for me on my screen.
No, it's for everybody. You drop orbs of light, period.
Okay.
I mean,
the orbs are out there for everyone. So maybe they're optimizing a little too much for the raid and the raid encounters where you're, match-made activities, or I'm sorry, non-match-made activities where you're supposed to go in with the team, and everything else that you are playing match-made and you make going with the team. It may be 2 of you, or you may be there with 2 other people who are going to sprint ahead, and you might see an orb here and there. So I wonder if, sort of like we were talking about before, of going about the let's optimize the game towards the guys playing 10 or 12 hours a day versus the casual folks. Now maybe we're optimizing a little too far for raid activities and team-based activities, and sort of at the expense of the person playing with one person, in a 3-person activity, or just trying to play solo.
See, that's the key word I wanted to talk about, playing solo, right? Unless I'm playing with my clanmates or I'm doing something like Gambit or a raid, I'm always solo. Because you go out, you go to all the planets, you're doing that all by yourself most of the time, right? You go and get your powerful gear, most of the time you're doing it by yourself. Or I am. Whenever I go do my heroic missions, I'm by myself. Whenever I go do multiple things in this game, like I said, outside of Gambit or raids, I'm by myself. There's no match made. There's no things happening. You're either playing with your friends or you're playing alone. So the fact that they're saying, oh, well, we need you to depend more on teammates. Yeah, well, there's a lot of activities where you don't have teammates, Bungie. That's why people like me have always depended on ourselves only, with the Orpheus rigs or the Phoenix protocol, or fill in the blank. Because we need to take care of ourselves because there's nobody else around. There's no match-made activity. There are no people helping us. So we have to get it on ourselves, for ourselves. Oh, Jesus. But yeah.
The rant has slowly gone downhill and Respawn has slowly given up. I was talking to a good friend of mine. He's a long-time Destiny player. He's done trials. He does raids. Or used to do trials and raids, Celestial Talons. Now, when I was talking to him and explaining what's happened in Destiny, because he's kind of slowly moved away from it in the last couple of months and actually uninstalled Destiny 2 from his Xbox and his PC, that's when it becomes a worry. You've got a long-term Destiny player that in Destiny 1, he owned it on the Xbox, he owned it on the PlayStation. He was very dedicated to playing on both. He had friends on both, and he would play every day, every week kind of thing. Trials at the weekend, grab a couple of people and just play. And he found that really fun. Destiny 2 comes along, and I think the amount of times that Destiny has changed and it's not got to the state of Destiny 1, that's kind of knocked him back. So I see his views of where he's coming from, and I think a lot of the community are feeling the same thing. He actually quoted you on the podcast, Respawn. He was saying, like somebody said on the podcast, it's pointless later in the week trying to level up for the raids because he couldn't level up fast enough to get into the raid on like whatever day it was, 3 or 4 days after the reset. So he likes the idea of the fact that the raid's going to come on day 1. He says the real problem is that no one uses other exotics because they're not good enough. Again, that's something we've said, but it does seem to be something that the community are saying as a whole. Nobody wants to use those other ones because they're not good. They need to buff things, not nerf. I mean, he said fast draw and reload speed for sidearms. That's not an exotic. Throwing fusion grenades further and exploding on impact. He says you're having a laugh.
Well, and then you have exotics that are largely pointless, like the Helm of Saint 14, which was a mainstay in Destiny 1, and now in D2, it's like, yeah, if you ever throw your bubble up, blinding some folks. Maybe it's decent if you're running a Reckoning build with the Helm of Saint 14 to slow the ads down.
If you have a bubble at this point, most of the time you're just trolling.
Right, yeah.
It just gets blown up very quickly.
Exactly, you pick an entire subclass out of the game. The Eternal Warrior.
Instead of using your shield, right? Instead of using your Titan regular shield where people can shoot through and get extra damage, now you're blocking all of the damage from going out of the shield.
Yeah, now you're putting up in front of your teammates to blow them up. I mean, let's talk about the Eternal Warrior. It's a cool looking stone mask that gives you an overshield when you activate your Fist of Havoc. And also, no, it doesn't. It's like, why would I use some of these things? Verity's Brow, this Warlock helm, energy weapon kills boost grenade recharge rate for you and nearby allies. Yeah, okay. There's, I look at these exotics and I think, okay, there's a situation that these would be useful in, other than the Aeon safe Swift ones. I can't think of what that situation would be. I mean, and there's even, there's even like Ashen Wake. Fusion grenades now explode on impact and gain the increased throw speed, like you were saying. Why would I ever use this? Like, I've got a couple of those in my vault. I forgot they're there. Why would I ever think about these again? You look at these exotics, there's so many that I looked at my collection of exotics of things I've gotten to drop, sometimes more than once. And I just can't think of a situation I would ever use them. That's why we go back to the one or two exotics we use and know and love. It's, there are certain things I forgot existed, because why would I use it? Because there's either an exotic that does it better, like Mask of the Quiet One and One Eye Mask, or there's just no reason to use the thing. Why use the exotic slot for something silly?
I think the only time that people have ever changed their load up, and get this, for fun, was a couple of weeks ago. What did we have? The Revelry. People changed up their loadouts. They had different exotics on because they found that those exotics, paired with the Revelry essences, managed to make the builds more fun. And that's where Destiny are going wrong. That's where Bungie are going wrong. Is we had the Revelry. People complained to start off with, and it's understandable in competitive, completely understandable. But the rest of the game, you were finding people that could solo the Last Wish raid. You found that you could solo the dungeon a lot easier. There was other things that you could do and have different play styles and different loadouts. I mean, we featured a hell of a lot of them, and they were good fun, all of them. And it was for 3 weeks, and it was amazing. I used exotics that I'd never thought I'd use, and everybody tried something different. My friend was saying this is where they seem to have lost the idea that exotic doesn't mean more powerful than a legendary. It should be a different way to play than a legendary. It's very similar to what you've said previously, Respawn. Mm-hmm. Keep exotics exotic.
And there's some other ones you can have fun with, or that we would have fun with if certain things were different, like the sealed Ahamkara grasps, those. Okay, so dealing melee damage, not kills, damage reloads your currently equipped weapon. And what I was doing for a while is I had the raid shotgun with trench barrel, and then the escalation shotgun with trench barrel. I was just going to town with this thing, man, because not only do you melee to get that buff active again, but with these gauntlets, you also reload your weapon. So you're just boom, 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 whack, boom, 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 whack, boom, 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 and you never have to worry about reloading because all you got to do is melee something, and it's really good. Except the thing that you would use it most on, aka bosses, will stomp your away. So that would be an exotic I would use actually quite a bit if the bosses didn't have the stomp mechanics, man. Because just imagine, I don't need the Whisper if I can just go up and just lay into this guy without stopping. But no, they took the fun away from the... Oh, that's another thing they nerfed, is the Trench Barrel perk.
Paul went out for Trench Barrel.
Yeah.
See, he also says that he wouldn't mind seeing a trade-off now. He used to be against it, but now he doesn't seem that it's a bad idea. It'd be nice to see some changes in PvP. Good or bad, just some changes. And to bring him back to the game, he said they need to release a Forsaken-sized expansion for free with all Destiny 1 raids and monthly PvP balances guaranteed. And that's the only thing that we're bringing back to D2, possibly D3. And I think, like him, a lot of the players, a lot of my older friends that have now moved on, all feel this way. And I think this is something that's affected the community, that we had a bigger community towards the end of Destiny 1, and they've alienated half of that community by implementing silly changes and silly nerfs, and then we split the player base by putting it on PC. Yes, you could argue we had Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, and there was 4 to start off with, and now we're only down to 3. But I think that split the player base even further, because the people that were on PlayStation or Xbox and wanted those higher frame rates then moved over to there. And it only seems to be the YouTubers and the streamers that are still there. He says that he genuinely feels cheated by this season pass. He understood that it would be more frequent and smaller updates, but the amount of content in this has been pathetic. And what new armor there is only seems to go into Eververse. And it's so frustrating, as even the blues and greens armor is sitting right there. Just make legendary versions of it. And if he was a betting man, he'd say that when they knew of the split with Activision, 99% of the resources moved to D3. I want to point out this is observations from somebody that doesn't play the game anymore. I don't think he's played it for at least 6 months. You know,
Right.
he even went back to Destiny 1 the other week, he said, and just played that for a bit of fun. So if this is somebody that's moved away from the game, that's observing all these issues that other people are talking about, then, you know, he's still keeping in contact with the game, but I think they're slowly going to push more and more people away from this game with what they're doing.
Slowly?
Yeah. It's
And only half of their fan base? I think you're being generous with those two statements.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's been 8 months, it says, since he's played Destiny 2.
There you
So,
go.
yeah, I mean, it's been a while, and again, I'm just looking at the clan list. There are a bunch of other folks who it's like haven't seen in a while either. And again, there's certain things, and people that I know would play every single day, I would see on all the time, and now, their power levels are sitting at like, low 600s, high 500s. To Respawn's point, other games are coming out. There's other stuff to do out there in the world than play this game, and if you're taking the things that were fun away from the game, people are going to go do other things.
And I take it to extreme. I say off your player base because I'm angry, right? But even if they're just taking away the fun aspect, people aren't upset, but they're just not having fun anymore. With all of this competition you have coming up, why are you alienating the people that you have left? Is this your business practice, Bungie? Because if it is, it's not a great one. I gotta say.
The business practice is to sell shirts and pins. Come on. Buy your shirt, buy your pins. We got this.
I'll let you tell the people about that afterwards.
Exactly.
Or your ghost sitting on top of your Xbox, right?
Oh, yeah. I also was chatting to Nitedemon on Xbox. We were just chatting about the game, and I said, have you got any feedback that you want to kind of raise on the podcast? And he said, as far as the nerf goes, he really doesn't like what they're going to do to the Whisper. It's an exotic. That's why that perk should be on it. Since it's not a random roll, but it's a dungeon run, why nerf it? He doesn't have any other strong feelings about the Sleeper, mainly because he doesn't use it that often, and he doesn't have Lord of Wolves. He's bummed about the armor changes, but can kind of understand those. That would be good if they could bring up other exotics. And I think, that is just people that are still playing the game and people that aren't still playing the game kind of all uniting on one front of this is what they want, Bungie. So if you are listening, because somebody from Bungie must have downloaded this podcast just to listen to us rant, I'm guessing.
I mean, I'm hoping we appear somewhere on Bungie's radar. I mean, we have so many downloads already, right? We're so popular. We get any more downloads, we're going to be famous. We're going to have to pull out, security guards and just watch our backs everywhere we go. It's going to be great. Wait, is that the word? Yes.
Yes. So, I think that is Respawn's rant and everybody's rant, apart from Peroty. Peroty was quite quiet. He was like Captain America tonight. He was, taking it in, trying to be diplomatic.
They're nerfing a bunch of guns that I don't really use very often. So, I know people are upset, but life moves on. Guns are going to change. I just before we get move on to the very last bit of this, I just wonder what the rationale was behind. They said they wanted to put these things out into the community early, but they basically they said, okay, let's take some gasoline, let's dump it on this fire, and let's walk away from the fire for a week or two.
Yeah.
Whereas if you would put these nerfs out with all, because there's more changes coming to Season of Options. There's going to be lots of other changes to guns and armor and new content. Put put this stuff out in addition to all of that other content, so people have all of this to talk about. And now we're just talking about, hey, you're taking away these things we know and love and enjoy, and you really haven't said anything else. There's new stuff coming, but you haven't given us any details. It's just here's what you're taking away. Period.
Do you remember back in D1? Back then I know they couldn't do individual weapons because they didn't have the ability to do it at the time. But I actually quite enjoyed 1 month pulse rifles would be on top, and then pulse rifles would be nerfed as a whole, and then snipers would be on top, and then snipers would get nerfed, and then shotguns, and then yada 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 yada. Well, not shotguns, but more constant changes to the meta, sort of like what Celestial Talons was saying. I want to see more changes, or what Nitedemon was saying. I don't want to see exotics nerfed. I want to see the classification of that weapon get nerfed so that other things come up, or maybe not even nerfed. But this week, auto rifles are buffed. They get an extra 30% damage. Holy moly! Next month, now everybody that wants to use shotguns, now they have a 50% buff for the month.
Right. Woo! Yeah, and that's what we were sort of asking for. He's saying, Bungie, you hit upon a good thing with the revelry. It wasn't perfect, but it was a good idea. Let's take the meta and just dump it on its head. Even if it's let's take a certain weapon class and say this week, this entire class of weapons will be buffed. This week, helmets are going to do this extra perk. This week, this month, whatever. We're going to make these big changes. And we obviously don't want Bungie just to say we're going to take these guns away, we're going to nerf these things out of the blue. But with the revelry, they have a way to make these changes in a way that makes the player base happier, or at least don't feel quite so forced and quite so arbitrary. Here's a change. Here's what's happening to it. Go enjoy it. Go play with it. If it sucks, it'll change later on. Instead of forcing it on us, letting us as the player base make the change of what we want to use and what loadout we want to run.
Yeah, because just imagine for a second if that would happen, right? Let's say, for example, the week that I said auto rifles get a 30% buff. How many more Titans are you going to see with Armamentarium running, the Cerberus or the Hardlight with the no damage fall off? Fill in the blank.
Very few, I'm guessing.
What?
They'll put the Actium War Rig on instead.
I knew you were going to say that.
What did I say? Did I say Armamentarium?
Armamentarium.
Oh my god!
I knew what you meant.
But yeah, so.
but yeah, totally. If we can get Actium War Rig to drop auto rifles out.
Oh my. Yeah. But there are so many good auto rifles out there that need some love too. Not just because they're all right in the current meta. Make them the damn meta again. Or scout rifles. Although that was the meta when we first started this game, and that was a nightmare. Jeez. Just whatever. Just buff certain classifications of weapons, because that'll make people change the weapons that they use and the exotics that they wield. At least in a percentage, and they'll be happy about it because you haven't taken away any of the favorite toys. You've just brought up other things for them to play with for a while. That's a much better way of doing things, in my opinion. If you have a different opinion, let us hear from you. But that's what I think.
Yeah, it'd be nice to hear anybody else's opinions on these situations, and then we can speak about them on the podcast. But I've just got this vision in my head of this week's TWAB, and they're all in a room, and they're just kind of pushing that one person forward, going, "You do, you deal with them. Go on, you write it this week. You apologise. You tackle what they're going to."
The button. I don't want to press the button.
Yeah, you put your name to it this week, so that they contact you on Twitter.
You press the button. I'm going on vacation. I'm going to be out until the Season of Opulence launches. I have a long-term vacation coming up where you can deal with a few bit. Yeah, again, if they had pushed these changes or announce these changes with everything else coming in the Season of Opulence, even if it wasn't that much, just there's more content. That's why people put out bad news on Friday afternoon, especially if there's another big news cycle going on. But you've given you've dumped the gasoline on the fire and walked away from the fire because there's nothing else in this 12 to latch onto. It's not like here's a raid right along. Here's details of what's coming next. It's here's what we're taking away from you. Here's what we're breaking. Here's what we're depriving you of. Come back next week. There will be more. And we're all going, no, we don't want more. We'd like less. Less is good.
I honestly don't think that they thought that there was going to be this amount of backlash. They knew there was going to be some backlash. But I think it does all boil down to the whisper.
I think they're getting confused. Like they see celebrities getting all this bad publicity, and then the celebrities end up in more movies because they're getting publicity. Their names are out there. Bungie, that's not how this works with video games. Negative publicity doesn't make you more famous. It just makes people hate you more. So if that's the route you're going down, please stop. You're not helping yourself. I'm sorry.
Okay. I think we'll draw a line under it for this week. If anything else comes up, we can discuss it next week. Peroty, would you like to finish off the TWAB for this week?
I would love to rep Trevor, because now that we're without Activision, we've got Trevor. Trevor, our friendly neighborhood robot that wants to murder you, and he wants to murder you and then give you a t-shirt. And by give you, I mean, please buy Trevor's t-shirt. You can memorialize the horror with a fancy new Trevor shirt from the Bungie store. Even if you haven't completed the 0-hour mission and are just a big fan of killer robots, you can still buy the shirt. If you ventured too deep into the old tower, buy the shirt. You may have awoken something in the darkness, buy the shirt. A terrifying machine of unknown purpose who now haunts our nightmares with a red glow now has a shirt of his very own. Go to the Bungie store, you can buy the Trevor shirt, you can wear the Trevor shirt around, and since everyone has given up on the game, they'll go, what are you wearing and what does that mean? There's also a Destiny player support forum. Go there, get help about Trevor, about shirts, about wearing shirts, about Destiny.
Is that your
Find
Trevor safe
all
space?
the help you can need. Exactly. Go to the help forum and say, I'm seeing nightmarish killer death robots in my dreams. I have the shirt, it didn't help. Maybe buy 2 shirts, maybe buy 4 shirts, maybe buy one for your entire clan. Trevor has shirts, Destiny needs your shirt money. Give Bungie your shirt money. Buy Trevor shirts. And we also have a Tale of Two Flashpoints. So last week on Weekly Reset...
Hold on. No, I want to talk about Trevor.
No, we've passed on. We've moved on, Trevor. He's haunting your dreams. Do you have the shirt? Have you bought the Trevor shirt?
Can I answer you? You're asking questions. You're not waiting for the answers.
That's how this works. This is the dictatorship.
So,
we have all the power
honestly, did Trevor...
He's muted himself.
Oh, it wasn't himself.
Did Trev? Yes, Trev did. Whatever he did. Anyways, yes, we can hear you typing.
Oh, well, don't be an and mute other people, Peroty. Anyway, but no, did anybody else legitimately get scared the first time Trevor snuck up on him?
Oh my god, I rounded a corner and he was right there. It was all I could do to say, all right, Trevor, I succumb to you. I'm dead now.
No, I didn't say anything. He scared me out of my chair. Because when I went in there the first time, I didn't know what to expect. They're just like, oh, it's chasing me. And I didn't know what the maze looked like or what the hell Trevor was. So I popped down and I'm running around, trying to find these buttons. And then I turn and I turn around. And behind me at the end of the tunnel, he just popped in, was this big red thing. And it scared the hell out of me, man. I was like, what? I jumped out of my seat a little bit, And then what made it even worse is I was by the exit, so I went in the exit thinking that I would be safe, even though the door wasn't open. He did! And here's the worst part. Here's the worst part. He turns down the exit and he stopped moving so I could see the little gnarly teeth. And then he came after me. It's like he gave me a chance to realize the mistakes that I've made. And then he killed me.
Repent before the almighty Trevor. Now the real question is, the next time they bring the forest back, is Trevor going to be the thing that chases you through the forest like Chad the Giant Knight? You're going to turn around and there's Trevor barreling down on you from behind as you're trying to jump through the puzzles.
Yeah, I think he would be way scarier than that night. The night, he was big and you saw him coming, but Trevor, he just kind of sneaks around corners. And you don't even notice Trevor until you jump up a stairwell. And then there he is, just waiting for you. He's all nonchalant, just waiting for you, and then he gets you. Oh man!
Hey, buddy.
I don't know if that was
come here often. It's time to die.
If they designed him like that on purpose, that way, if you thought the exit was the safe space, and then he would pause just long enough for you to realize what happened. If that was intentional, that's freaking genius. Because that's exactly what I thought. I was like, I've made terrible life choices, and then he just ate me. Oh man. It was funny. It was good. I don't know if it was intentional. If it was, great. If it was just accidental, I hope others can feel the terror of that moment when you're just waiting. Is he going to leave? What's he doing? And then it's like, oh god, oh, it hurts.
Waiting for you to be slightly content, thinking you're safe. No, Trevor's behind you. Trevor's behind you right now. Just watching, waiting, standing in the room in the corner, ready to murder you. Unless you buy the Trevor shirt, because Trevor will save all of those wearing his shirt, because he knows you are a true follower and devout supporter of Trevor. All hail the mighty Trevor.
The cult of Trevor.
Enjoy the cult of Trevor. So go buy your Trevor shirt. It's at the Bungie store. Bungie needs money to make video games. Trevor needs more, blood and Guardian bits for his Trevorly demise. I don't know. Go buy shirts. They're out there in the world. And now
So
we have
just
a Tale of Two
said
Flashpoints.
buying shirts will save you, and now you're saying go buy shirts because he wants more blood. You just gave very mixed messages there, man.
That's what we're here for. We're not here for quality information. We're here for entertainment.
Entertainment? Question mark?
Someone's being entertained. You, me, the people. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so we have a tale of two flashpoints. So last week on the weekly reset of May 7th, certain players who logged in immediately after the 10 a.m. Pacific reset were assigned to the EDZ as a weekly flashpoint. But everyone else who logged in after 10:30 received Titan as their weekly flashpoint. And for those of you not in the Pacific region, add 30 minutes to whatever your reset is. That's when it was. So following this week's reset on the 14th, we expect all of our players to be realigned and everyone should see the same flashpoint moving forward. Pardon our dust. So 50-50 shot, 80-20 whether we'll all see the same flashpoint. So we'll see what happens. We should all end up on the same flashpoint this week. And I think we've beaten Outbreak Perfected to death. We have final thoughts. We all have the weapon. It's dead. We're moving on with life.
Oh, it is not dead. It's definitely
Oh,
not.
it's
No, it's not dead.
Trevor,
It's not dead yet.
Trevor came around the corner
dead
and
yet.
murdered it.
No, that gun is
So
amazing.
we took you through the mission last week, didn't we, Peroty? You've now got the gun. You've had a bit of time to play with it. What do you think?
I think it's a lot of fun. It's very stable. It's what I imagine the hand cannons are on PC that the console players don't have.
Yeah,
Because you can. It's very similar to using honestly, it's very similar to using an auto rifle where you're just like, I'm going to point this gun in this direction and not hold the trigger down, but tap that trigger and it's going to hit the same target over and over and over. There's almost no recoil to it. It's I'm going to kill that thing over there and enjoy the little nanite swarms, because who doesn't love a nanite swarm when they're not trying to murder you or push you out of the place you're trying to stay in the Wrath of the Machine raid? Nanite swarms against other people, I am into. So it's been great fun playing around with it. I haven't had a ton of time to play with it this week, but I brought into Iron Banner, I brought into the Strikes, I played a little bit of Gambit with it. It's just a fun gun. It's a fun gun that has a fun perk, and it's just stupidly stable, which I really enjoy.
Right. Wait till you actually get in a party where everybody's got one. That becomes cancer. And
I think I played that Iron Banner match because the other team didn't know what hit them. It's like, oh, you have a Not Forgotten, you have a Lunas Hound. No, we have nanite swarms. The tiny little robots, tiny little Trevors are going to cover you, and you're going to be dead.
Yeah, and you take it into big time activities where you have final bosses, you really, really notice that. Like, I wasn't joking when I said we one phased Wrath of the Machine, Scourge of the Past boss. We one phased it.
I don't think we heard that last week,
Yeah.
actually.
And this gun is amazing, especially when you have a full team that has it. So it's good on its own, like what you're talking about, but it's phenomenal when you have a team with them. It's like the
Even
Rat
better with
Pack
friends.
plus.
Right. Yeah. It's what the Rat Pack should have been, or the Aeon armor set should have been. And that's what I like. I like having a gun where the effects are almost amplified by just other people having that weapon. Even if the gun itself that's a non-inherent perk of the weapon, it's just a more powerful thing the more people have it. Because I feel like there's so few things like that in the game. It's just a lot of fun to run around with the same thing as everybody. Like, so that Iron Banner match I played where if everybody didn't have it, it was at least 5 or 6 of the people. Because it was just nothing but nanite swarms everywhere you went. I didn't do that. I didn't do it that time. He muted himself.
Okay. We heard all you had to say last week. Well, we heard it. The audience really didn't hear it. But honestly, you didn't really miss much. The gun's fabulous, is what you were saying. But yeah, I agree. I agree with you. I've played with it in Iron Banner, and it can compete against Not Forgottens and Lunas at good ranges. They can still shoot you from those ranges, and they can still kill you. but I can still at least trade with this weapon.
And you can check out their friends that are next to them with them too.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what I was looking for in a pulse rifle, something that's stable and it's sticky with its headshots. That's what I want. I want to be able to, a good range on it and good damage on it. And if you're a good, highly skilled player, it's going to work wonders for you. It's really worth getting. And if you haven't checked out all the linked videos that we put in last week, go and check them, because there was an extra one that I put in there that I found just as we were uploading that I think it may have been Cool Guy did a video on. There's a secret perk for the weapon, and I can't remember what it is now. But I did link that last week.
That secret. We won't even tell you. Go watch the video, and then you'll learn.
Go watch the video.
You'll never believe what happens next.
Yeah. After doing a lot of testing, and a lot of in-game testing and private match testing, he's 99.9% sure that it's that perk that's hidden on the weapon. So go watch that, and have a go at trying to do that. I will also link. There will be a link to this week's Arc puzzle. So even if you miss it this week, at least you've got a link to it when it comes up again for the heroic version.
FYI, just verified, it is Cool Guy.
Cool.
News, info, tips and tricks. The news, a little bit of bad news, come from Cosmo on Reddit. He's just confirmed that all the feedback will be reported back to Bungie. The community's reaction is understood. He also says that the changes listed in the TWAB are definitely going ahead in next week's update. Are definitely going ahead to the next update. He'll be taking the feedback from the players who are responding to the changes on paper, and will continue to take feedback after players get the weapons/armor in their hands and are able to test them for themselves. And I will link the Reddit posts for those if you wanted to contribute to those.
And that right there is Bungie's problem in a nutshell. The changes listed in the TWAB are definitely going into the next update. You'll be taking feedback from players, though. So basically, I hear you. I'm going to do what I want anyway. Ha 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 ha.
I suppose he can't really do what he wants. The company are doing what they want, or what they've planned, and he's just, unfortunately, the community manager for that.
Well, and that was an interesting point, and I don't remember. I watched a couple of videos this week, and I don't remember who it was saying this, but they brought it. I think it might have been Dado. Brought up an interesting point where this content, Bungie doesn't say, we finish Seasons of Opulence on Sunday, we push it live to you on Monday. This goes through channels at Sony, channels at Microsoft. There's QA work that has to be done. There's stuff to load into the Microsoft system. This content is probably already locked and loaded for delivery. If they were to make any changes, it would push the release date back weeks, if not months, to go through this whole process again. I mean, how many games have you heard of being held up because they're sitting in Microsoft's QA processes or Microsoft's processes to get out to players? This content's locked and loaded. It's coming to us. They can make changes to future content, but this is coming. And because there's some kind of lead time on just pushing that content out to the big player bases on all three platforms. So again, even if they wanted to make changes, they can't without a huge delay. And better to get the content into players' hands, let them play with it, and say, okay, by June 4th release, we actually meant August 15th release. Sorry.
You're right, but at the same time, this would be fixed if they asked us or brought the changes to our attention before they actually implemented them.
Yeah. Which is what we said earlier with when Cosmo used to ask, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Can we have some feedback on what this does? If that had happened 6 months ago, we might not have been in the situation that we're in now.
Yeah, where everybody's leaving the game. Yeah.
And maybe it did happen when all the streamers went to Bungie and said, yeah, this all sounds like great things. Who knows?
Yeah, like they said with the original D2.
I don't think they said anything that this is going to be great when it comes to nerfs, because I don't think they knew about nerfs. Now, they knew about new maps, new game modes, new weapons. Oh, yeah, that sounds great. Also, we're going to nerf everything into oblivion. Wait, what?
So, moving on to our tips and tricks section, we've got a few rays of light that come through in the Destiny community. And I've got a couple of videos for you on hand cannons. So, if you are worried about the Luna's Howl and Not Forgotten, or even if you don't have the weapons and you want to have a weapon that's very similar or want to compete against these weapons in the Crucible now that they're going to be a bit more prevalent, we have a video from Cool Guy, who's done a hand cannon breakdown for tips on PC versus console. And he goes over the 140s and the 150 hand cannons. They're not really used on console due to the various issues: bloom, recoil, visual recoil, and accuracy overall. But he says the console crowd stick to precision hand cannons, which are the 180s normally, due to the ease of use. So in the video, he goes over why this is. He compares the console and PC with footage. And for the 140s and the 150s, he goes over his top 5 that he uses, and he uses them every day. And he hopes to help others get better at using them. So he goes over 4 shooting techniques in the video for console players to help you get better at using the weapons. And he even breaks down what weapons are prevalent in like console and PC. So in first position on console for kinetics, we have the Bygones at 14.56%. We've got Dust Rock Blues at number 2 with 13.8%. Arbalest, new one there, at number 3 with 5.5%. Last Word at 4 with 4.58%. And Surus Regime at 5 with 2.93%. And then with the energy weapons on console, you've got Luna's Howl in first position with 28.69%. The Recluse is in second position at 17.11%. Not Forgotten is number 3 with 5.86%. Last Perdition, which is the pulse rifle you can get from Shaxx, at 0.71%. And Trust is at number 5 with 0.38%. And then he points out that the Ace of Spades isn't even in the top 5 on console. So this nerf that's coming is primarily for PC players. But it will still affect console players because it's an overall update that's happening. But on PC, for kinetics, you've got Ace of Spades, which is 40.19%. Last Word is number 2 with 20.14%. Blast Furnace is 3 with 4.96%. Arbalest at number 4 with 1.3%. And Thorn is number 5 with 0.39%. So there's a very big difference with what's on console and what's actually on PC.
Yeah, and there's
we've even got a shotgun on console.
Yeah, Bygones was not even, was 14.5% at number 1 slot, and then Ace of Spades 40%, Last Word 20% on PC. It's interesting, just the huge numbers on those two weapons, and I wonder, is that because most of the streamers are on PC, or are those just are weapons that good on PC versus console? That was really interesting numbers.
That's good.
Because the console,
it's like you were,
is a little more spread out.
Yeah, they're definitely that.
It's like you were saying with Outbreak Prime or Outbreak Perfected, where it's just a laser beam. The hand cannons, the 150s, the 140s, are like laser beams on console. Even the Last Word, when that first came out, they showed the difference between console and PC, and it's night and day.
Yeah, it's got to be. 60% of people are using 2 guns in their primary slot, and the third gun down is at barely, not even 5%. That's craziness.
Mm-hmm.
That's fascinating.
Which is why it's going to be touched. So just to finish off the energy for PC, number 1 position, you've got the Recluse, 18.30%. Luna's Howl at number 2 with 4.48%. Retold Tale, which is 0.74%. Mindbender's Ambition at number 4 with 0.3%. And Not Forgotten at number 5 with 0.18%. So that's a very interesting video. And I'm going to watch it a couple of times just to see if it does help me, because where I'm going to try and get my Lunas, I'd like to also give a shout out to the guys that actually helped me towards the end. I was at 1,500 glory points, and I managed to join an LFG team that were just like all around the same pointage, and we all helped each other get to the 2,100. So K-Wars01, Ginger Cheetah 89, Lonely Coleslaw, Golden Freddy 996. Thank you for helping me get to 2,100.
Streamer advantage that you're giving out right now. Wow. they helped out they helped out a podcast, so now they get call outs. Oh my god, that's not fair.
No, I didn't even tell them I was on a podcast.
Yeah, it's fine.
They have no idea who we are.
They don't even
if you're listening to the podcast, email
TwoTitans100
hotmail.com and tell Respawn how wrong he is about everything in life.
And I want to apologise to K-Wars because I'm sorry I didn't follow him on that last map and I really upset him. He quit out of the game. And I do apologise. I should have followed him and I shouldn't have been using my Suros. I should have been using a hand cannon.
You were just one of the 2.93% of people using the Suros, that's all.
Exactly. The other video that I have, which I found quite interesting, was by ZK Mushroom. He's done a video on the West of Sunfall 7 hand cannon. And this was a weapon that you obtained from Brother Vance on Mercury in the Curse of Osiris DLC by completing Lost Prophecy verses 1 to 7, hence the 7 at the end of the name. So if you don't have the weapon, I've got a video guide on how to get the weapon. There's a little bit of a grind because you have to go through 1 to 7 to actually get it. But it is worth it in the end. And that video is by Moldog Gaming. And that's how to do the Lost Prophecy verses. But going back to ZK Mushroom, he points out that West of Sunfall 7, that hand cannon is an alternative 180 RPM hand cannon to the other 180s that are out there. And the perks are auto-loading holster with a choice between high caliber rounds, accurized rounds, or extended mag. Now, it has an aim assist of 79, which is the same as the Pinnacle Crucible weapon, Not Forgotten. And to top it off, it has the maximum recoil direction of 100%. Now, I believe Not Forgotten is only 90, so it has that an extra 10% max recoil direction. And again, it's a 180. It's not going to be nerfed. It's not going to be touched. So maybe this is one that you've got in your collection. Maybe it's one that you could go and do through doing the Brother Vance stuff. Pull out, have a go. I've pulled mine back out of the collection, and hopefully I'm going to take it into Crucible the end of this week and see if I can get my Lunas. Because that's the last step that I'm on, is precision hand cannon kills. 76 I think I need to get. I'm stopped while Iron Banner was on. So I'm going to go back and do that. The other couple of videos that we have are True Vanguard has done a video on the main ingredient fusion rifle. So this is an alternative to the Erentel fusion rifle that everybody seems to be trying to get from the gunsmith. His role of the weapon has backup plan, under pressure, and ionized batteries. And he explains why it's a good alternative to some of the exotic fusion rifles that you can get, and it's a good counter to shotguns, and he shows you that with some of the gameplay. We also have another video by Deicide, who's done a Wiz and Rebuke God Roll video. So if you've been playing Iron Banner this week and you've got your Wiz and Rebukes to drop finally, I think I had about 10 drop in about 3 days. It was ridiculous. They were just farming them out to me. And I have saved quite a few of them. In Deicide's video, he goes over several things for bulk damage, TTK stats, is it worth the grind, range test, first to fourth column perk guide, potential god rolls, the base stats, and is it better than the Erentil? That's worth a look if you've actually got any of these weapons, or if you've got the Wizard to drop. So yeah, it's a good guide for another god roll weapon. Camicakes has a really good video on a Suros and Shotty build for the Hunter respawn.
I'm listening.
Good. So the videos that he's doing recently, he's doing ones on the catalysts that are dropping for him, and he's completing the catalysts. So he's doing a video on that weapon. So he's currently just done the Suros, hence the reason why he's done a Suros regime video with a Shotty. And he's playing on Bottom Tree Arc Strider. He pairs it with the Frosties, which are the exotic boots, if you didn't know, and using combat meditation on the skill tree. So when he's critically wounded, melee and grenades recharge dramatically faster. He also runs a shotgun with threat detector. So when it pops up on the screen on the left-hand side, he can see when he's near an enemy and he can dodge to get free super energy back without even being in sight of the enemy. So he's using that as a technique to generate more super in a PvP match. And in the video, he shows you gameplay of actually doing that and the build that he's actually got together. So I thought that'd be one interesting for you, Respawn, since you like doing different things and seeing how powerful hunters are.
Oh man, I want to say something mean, but I'm not awake enough yet. So just know that you slicked by.
Okay.
There's karma
Thank
coming
you.
back at you soon.
I owe you one mean comment. Write it down, make a note, give it to Trevor. Trevor will deliver it. It'll be good times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Hold on. Putting a sticky note on Trevor.
That's waking him up.
Just like an IOU just stuck on a sticky note on Trevor's face as he's chasing Demon down the hallway.
Respawn, you're going to log into the game this week, and you're going to go to your postmaster, and you know who's going to be waiting there for you?
Trevor.
Trevor is your new postmaster. Dear sir, I think you've dropped these things.
We also have 2 more videos for you for the 0 hour mission. Another couple of cheeses for you. If you are struggling with the mission, it's understandable. I struggled with it. Other people have struggled with it. There is a helpful video by Cheese Forever who's done a guide on if you are on the heroic mission and you're doing the jumping puzzle on the outside of the wall where you're jumping from the drain to pipe and then to like the little flaps that move in and out of the wall. You'll know which bit if you've actually got there. If you're dying on that part, there is an area just inside the room where you respawn where you can go underneath a staircase, kill yourself, and you respawn back on the wall on the other side, so you don't have to keep doing the first initial part of the jumping. And in the video, he shows you where to do that. He also has a very interesting video on how to stop enemies from spawning in the boss section at the end of the game. So at the end of the mission, if you keep one enemy alive and just DPS the boss, no more enemies will spawn. And he shows you in his video, they just leave a little vandal running backwards and forwards between the two of them. And it's quite fun to watch. So if you want to try that, there's a link for that as well. As I said previous, I've got the video for Fallout Plays Arc Challenge video. And 2 last things. If you are gearing up for Season of Opulence, hopefully you are, and you're all excited, apart from what's just happened. Sweaticles has a Google Doc on a preparation guide for getting ready for the new raid, the Crown of Sorrow, and how to level up really quickly in the 6 hours. And he breaks it down literally minute by minute what you should be doing when that patch goes live and the preparation that you need to do beforehand to get bounties and get your inventory to the right level of what you will need to do to then do the activities really quickly when the patch hits. So that's interesting. And Houndish also has a video guide on showing you basically what you need to kind of do with these different engrams and different parts of the game to get yourself level at the time.
So what you're saying is you'll be putting your raid team together to get us through the raid on day 1?
Yeah. I will be sending the Google Docs out to all of you. I need you to sign them. It comes with an agreement to say that you will sign your life away for 2 weeks prior, 2 weeks after, and we will stream this rabble going through, and nobody is allowed to quit. We have to just keep going. Nobody's allowed to watch YouTube. Nobody's allowed to watch Twitch. Nobody's allowed to watch Mixer. We do it blind. We're just going to go for it.
Sounds amazing. I don't see how this can possibly fail.
I'm going to do it.
Tune in 6 months from now as we're still trying to make our way through the first. As Respawn and I showed, we are not great puzzle solvers. So I'm not sure we're going to be very good at finding our way through, I don't know, a cardboard box, a paper bag.
Claimed to be a great puzzle solver. I'm just here to kill things and look pretty. All right, that's my do. That's what I do.
Well, there you go.
Respawn.
What?
There is one question I need to ask you.
What?
How is Thorn?
I'm on the part where I gotta do Crucible stuff.
How many weeks ago was it you said you're going to come back next week and tell us all about Thorn?
Yeah, but then, Arbalesque and Outbreak and these.
And this and that and this.
I'm sorry. I watch other people use it and I don't like it. I've seen videos about it and I'm really hard pressed to go out and get the Thorn, which you
were going to go
in my
and get
opinion
it
is
and tell us
anyway.
how bad it is.
I know I was. All right. I got to work on that this week. I'm sorry.
This week.
I lagged on it because I had so many new fun toys to play with. But yeah, I will genuinely work on it this week. I'll go into the Crucible, do what I need to do, and come back with this stupid gun. Damn it.
Okay. I have an update for my Heaviest Death emblem. So this is Death Watch. Dun dun dun. I have now completed it. I have 2,500 kills. I have an emblem to say that I was stupid enough to go into Iron Banner more than 100 light levels lower than people because I needed to get those kills on the people that were 590, 580. So I had to be lower than them.
Nice.
I was monitoring it right up until like, the last 10 kills, and I was like, on the last 5 minutes of a burden, we were about 100 points. And I was thinking, I've just got to get 5 more kills. 5 more kills. So I got 2.
All I need. Mm-hmm.
And then heavy was open on. Where was it? It was the one from Destiny 1, where you've got the big cube in the middle next to B.
Mm-hmm.
And then you run by the waterfall.
Yeah. I know what you mean. I can't think of what
Picked up the heavy, and for some reason, because I was played with Pan earlier, I'd had a rocket launcher instead of my machine gun, and I just turned around to B, saw that it was slowly going to the opposite side, fired a rocket, and got 3 of them, and I was like, "That's it, I'm done."
I'm done.
I checked it, and it went, and it was like 2,500. I was like, "Thank God for that," because if it was 2,501, I'd have been very upset.
Listen, mine's sitting at 507. I've completed 0 Iron Banner bounties this time around. I haven't even used the burden. I was like, it's just... I can sort of tell this week was not going to be a good Iron Banner week to start with, and I'm sort of glad I didn't get back on that grind, because I would be really mad if I had made like good headway like the first 2 days and be sitting at like, close to 1,000 or 1,200 or something. And then you'd be like, no, this is just not going to happen. This is not a thing. So I'm kind of happy I just said, you know what? There's some things I don't need in life, and this is one of them. It will be okay.
Pan came back and said, "Oh, do you want to come play some more Iron Banner?" I was like, "Yeah, okay." And it felt so nice just to be at the level of other Guardians. And I put on my Gambit gear, where I've got like super mods attached, with my one-eyed mask, Outbreak Prime, Recluse, and I was tearing it up. At one point, Odie turned around to me and he went, "Can you just calm down now?"
You're like, no, I finally am having the power fantasy I wanted to have this entire time. Yeah. It was, and again, I give him credit for trying it out, but yeah, it was just like, it was rough. I mean, especially when you're going with people, 100 light levels above you. But
I don't think it's the 100 light levels. It was trying to go below them. So where you've got people at 600, and you've got to go that extra point lower than them.
Right.
You're then crossing over into that next damage cap. Yeah.
Yeah, true. Yeah, but even that, but it's like, again, I haven't played with it this time, but in the last one, I'm pretty sure, I feel like every time I got killed, it was, the person was 690 to 700. I saw very few. Now, granted, maybe the people on the same level of me as me weren't killing me, but I wasn't seeing a whole lot of power drop off from other folks. It was like, I'm doing this alone, it felt like, and no one else is going for this at all. But and no one else had the emblem on to count the kills or anything else. It's like, okay, well, this is a thing, but now you're fancy and you've got your 2,500, and you can wear that proudly and be like, look, I suffered for this. I suffered hard for this.
I've finally done it. I've now got my power back. I am happy. We can move on.
At any point in time, did you feel as though they were just taking your manhood away from you?
No, I tell you what. This really angered me, right? And I'm going to call this person out. Fug 'em. Right. I'm calling out Fug 'em.
I love that guy's name, by the way. I just want to say that.
Yeah. No, we don't like him.
No, I like his name. He's got a good name. But I'm sorry. Continue.
No, we do not like him.
Plus, if he's Nintendo man, sorry for everyone else, Nitedemon. Anybody that can is already good in my book.
He's an Xbox player, and you spell his name F-U-G-M. Now, this player has a not forgotten. This player was 125 light higher than me. He killed me in the last second of the game and then proceeded to teabag me. What is that about? When you are that highly skilled of a player to have a not forgotten, do not teabag somebody at the end of the match unless they are another player that has got not forgotten and you've out-dueled them. I can understand that. Emote, that is fair enough. That's what they're in the game for. But teabagging somebody that's 125 light lower than you is just... It's just not cricket. I'm just going to put it out there. There's a lot of things I could say. there were a lot of things that I could say, and I did say after the fact.
Look,
but we will just keep it civil because
when it comes to those kinds of things,
us Brits we
agree
keep
with
a
you.
stiff upper lip.
When it comes to those kinds of things, I agree with you 100%. You don't teabag unless there's actually I wouldn't teabag at all. I never do teabag unless somebody really, really in the game. Then I just do it out of spite. But 99% of the time, I would agree with you wholeheartedly. But the fact that it was you that he did this to, I'm okay with it. In fact, I encourage it. Anytime you see Nitedemon in the game, even if you just shot him from behind, just teabag him. Just because.
If I get bagged, they better send me a nice message afterwards and say that you sent them, because otherwise I'm not going to be happy.
Well, okay, don't send the message because the whole intention is
no.
So just teabag him.
No, because I'll laugh. I'll laugh if it's people doing it under your influence. Yeah.
Send Respawn the message because I want Respawn to come back with a couple of weeks from now because it takes him about a month to do things. With a list of people who've been like, I saw Nitedemon in the Crucible.
I will take screenshots. I will put them in a Word doc and I will upload them to our next podcast. I promise you. Just send me all the messages with, hey, I teabag demon this time this date. I teabag demon this time this date. I teabag.
You've got to catch me now. Now my light's high again. I'm not iron burdening.
Make a clip. Go to Guardian.theater. Find the clip. Send the link to Respawn. He will compile them. It'll be amazing.
Whilst I'm calling people out for doing wrong,
there will be nobody. We'll see what happens.
I'm also going to call out the DDoSers that DDoSed me out of a game in competitive when I'm trying to work towards my 2100. And this guy goes by the name of Hazumo. He sent me a message just as we're flying in. Hello. And that was it. My Xbox completely shut off. I had a white screen. I could still talk to my team. They were concerned that my character was still in the game, but nothing was happening. They couldn't do anything. They couldn't fight against this other team. It was just not nice. So Hazumo, you think you've got away with it, but you haven't. You've changed your name. It's now Yella Hero. Well, see, I've followed you a bit more because I'm calling you out for that name as well. And your teammates. That was That Soccer Dude 7, Discovery Quiche, and Jaeger. So all four of you are complete. Don't do it. Yeah. I'm not even putting the duck quacks in. I'm just leaving it silent. You all know what I mean.
So what we've learned today is don't make the Brits angry because they carry a grudge and they will hunt you, much like Trevor, to the end of the earth and beyond.
See, Demon is the closet angry one. Right, because I'll just get angry at you and I'll kill you. He has
a deep-seated anger.
Track down your name changes. He will find out where you live. He will post angry sticky notes all over your Xbox to let you know that he was there.
If you wake up and your car's been keyed in the morning, Nitedemon. If you wake up and your Destiny has been deleted off your Xbox, Nitedemon. If you wake up and you see guitar errors, also Nitedemon.
FYI, if you get any weapons,
he has more power than you realize.
Didn't actually do that. There's just some big conspiracy that Demon has put together to make you think that it was Bungie that nerfed all of your weapons. It was actually Demon. Yeah, FYI, I don't want to spoil anything here, but I'm also one of this guy's followers. I've already looked him up and friended him. By the way,
I hate you. So we've actually reached the end of the show after our little break in between.
Thank you for joining us. Your Titans this week have been Peroty and Nitedemon. Your hunter is no one respawns in real life. You can email the show at twotitansandahunter@hotmail.com. Hit us up on Twitter at twotitans_hunter. You can find our Facebook page and our YouTube channel by searching Two Titans and a Hunter. Join the Frozen clan at join.frozen.party. That's Frozen with a 0 because Frozen with an O, owned by Disney, as are all things that you see, Simba. Find your favorite Guardians on Xbox Live. Watch the show on YouTube. Listen to the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, and everywhere fine podcasts are sold. I will leave you from dusk till dawn, dancing the outer dance of my people. Say goodbye, Guardians.
Bye, Guardians.
Get the hell out of here.
100 hours of editing
So
later.
listen. There's a gun in the game called Luna's Howl. It's a pinnacle weapon. It's a really good weapon, right? And your name is Luna. And so what he wants you to do is he wants you to like make a bunch of like. You did
I really
last week.
appreciate how he says, and your name is Luna.
Whatever.
Part you wouldn't quite understand or remember.
So he wants you to do an outro, just doing something random, and he's gonna call it Luna's Howls. Get it? Because it's the gun, and you're an angry wife. Do you get it? Do you get it? Anyway,
Just waiting for the sound of the gunshot or the fry.